Sam Hubbard, the Cincinnati Kid. Hubbard's got a convoy, chased by Andrews. At the 30, the 20, he will score!
To the end zone, down the field, and it is deflected, and gone! Touchdown! A.J. Green!
Over goes back to throw, men are coming late, looks right down the middle, there's Eddie Brown, he has it at the 35 to the 30, he may go, 10-5, touchdown!
Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up.
Yeah.
It is good.
Corey Dillon, he's gone. The knockout punch, you're looking at it. 65 yards. And they're back to throw as the blitz is on. Goes long, intended for Collinsworth. He has it down to the 20, touchdown. And Chris Collinsworth.
Throwing the long ball, deep down the field. Chad Johnson's coming. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Look at Chase go. Oh my goodness, what a gear he just found. Case for the touchdown. Wow, Chase is on the case.
It is no fluke. It is a fact. The Cincinnati Bengals are headed to Super Bowl 56. The play clock at 3. Shotgun snap. Carr throws into traffic. Intercepted. Jermaine Pratt has the football.
Yeah.
Coffin nails.
Bam, bam, bam. How about that?
Live from Smoke Justis, it's Chatterbox Bengals. Welcome in, everybody. Reid, Mouse, Stone Shields. I'm Craig Sandlin. Appreciate you tuning in for tonight's special Chatterbox Bengals draft coverage live from Smoke Justis in Covington, Kentucky. Stone, we'll start with you. Obviously, the Bengals made a splash already this week. Rumors swirling that they may not be done. What are you looking for here on night one of the draft?
Well, they shocked us, obviously, over the weekend, trading for Dexter Lawrence, moving out of round one of the NFL draft, giving up that number 10 overall selection to the New York Giants. Had that not happened, it would be laughable to even suggest that they would consider moving back in round one. Obviously, this would go against everything we know about the Cincinnati Bengals, but I do think we have to acknowledge it as a possibility that they could move back in round one, considering that they made a blockbuster move a couple of days ago. I'm not going to predict it. Deep down, I don't believe that it will happen, but I do think there is a chance that we could see Cincinnati potentially make a selection tonight.
Ooh. Reid, Mouse, welcome in. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's been a busy day. Been all over the United States of America, but here I am in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Smoke Justis. No better place to be for the NFL draft. Unfortunately, on paper, the Bengals do not have a pick. But who knows right now with what the Bengals are doing. I think we know that they're probably not going to pick tonight. That's okay, because I think we are all ecstatic with the 10th pick turning into Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, of course.
That's a net positive. So it's a great day. We got a great – thank you, everyone, for showing out. We're here at Smoke Justis. It's a great venue. It's going to be a great night.
Absolutely. And if you're not familiar, Smoke Justis here in Covington, Kentucky, located in the historic Citizens Telephone Building here in Covington. Smoke Justis is an urban sports bar named after an urban legend, Walter Smoke Justis. Unique blend of casual and lounge dining space has created a vibe for everyone. Make sure you stop in. Smooth bourbon, smoked meats, lots of good food to eat. Stone, I know we're sipping on some cold beer right now. Maybe later tonight might be partaking in some of this barbecue as well. But let's talk about that move that the Bengals made just a few nights ago on Saturday. Trading the number 10 overall pick to the Giants, sending Dexter Lawrence in return. Obviously, the big storyline, Dexter told the New York Giants he didn't want to come back, wanted a new contract. Seemed as if there were an impasse there. What's your take on that situation? Dexter Lawrence now in Cincinnati, participating in OTAs. That has to be a good sign if you're a Bengals fan.
Absolutely. Obviously, the takeaway on Saturday night was shock, jaw on the floor, disbelief. and we're here on a Thursday, I'm kind of still in that spot, to be completely honest with you. But Dexter Lawrence, we know who he is as a football player. Did he have a bit of a down year last year for his standards? Yes. But if he had the same year that he had last year for Cincinnati in 2026, guess what? That would be a significant upgrade from what they got from the interior of their defensive line last season. Obviously, they're paying a lot more than just that for Dexter Lawrence, so the expectations are high. That's where you want him to be if you're Cincinnati. And now the onus is on the players and the coaching staff, specifically Zach Taylor. Before, it was the organization and Duke Tobin and Mike Brown getting in the way of potential success for Cincinnati. That no longer is the case. They went all in. We've been talking about the phrase all in for so many days and weeks and months. Well, they actually did it. The Cincinnati Bengals are all in with this move of Dexter Lawrence. I understand there's some people out there a little bit concerned that, he showed up out of shape in the past. Could that potentially be an issue here in Cincinnati? My money's on that not being a problem because it's a new landing spot for him. He got the deal in which he wanted, and he understands that he has a real chance to win a ring here, something that was not possible for him in New York.
Yeah, and Reid, it was surprising to me. There was obviously a mixed reaction from fan bases, right? Not only within the Cincinnati fan base, but the New York Giants fan base as well. You look at last year, Dexter Lawrence only half a sack compared to his career numbers, which are obviously significantly better. Part of that was the injury that he had to his elbow. Part of it was motivation. And part of it, quite frankly, was probably system. What can the Bengals expect, and what do you think that they're going to do to try to best utilize Dexter Lawrence?
Are we going to see more than half a sack this year? Yeah, of course we're going to see more. As long as he's on the field, right? As long as he's healthy on the field for, a dozen games, he's going to get more than half a sack. But dive in a little deeper. I'm not well adept to, the analytic numbers and everything like that. But when you dive in just a step deeper, just a step beyond the facial, the face stats of sacks and pressures and everything like that, the Giants' defense was much better when Dexter Lawrence was out there. And that's exactly what the Bengals' defense is going to be. There is no greater luxury in this sport than an interior lineman that can get after the quarterback. If you're able to push the offensive line back, get in the quarterback's face, that will do your whole defense, the rest of the 10 guys, a huge service. That's why Dexter Lawrence is so important to this team. It's not just how many times is he actually going to get down Lamar Jackson? How many times is he actually going to get down whoever they have in Pittsburgh, Will Howard or Aaron Rodgers? How many times are you going to get down whoever they have in Cleveland? It doesn't matter. The difference is he's going to help out the rest of the unit. Everyone always tells me in football, it's a team sport. Well, that goes double on defense, and Dexter Lawrence, everyone else feast when Dexter Lawrence is out on the field.
And Stone, that's the big piece, right? Obviously, we know Dexter Lawrence. We know the pressure that he can provide, the ability to stop the run. But this is a young defense who struggled in 2025, specifically the linebacker position. Dexter Lawrence has already come out and talk about how he hopes that he can help improve that linebacking core and make their job easier. What does he need to do to make sure that Demetrius Knight Jr. and Barrett Carter are better in 2026 than they were in 2025?
Well, I think that's the whole thought process for Duke Tobin and everybody upstairs for the Cincinnati Bengals is we have to make sure everybody around these linebackers elevates their performance here in 2026, and certainly none other than Dexter Lawrence, right? He's a guy that's going to command double teams on more downs than not. You got guys on the edge that are coming in. Boye Mafe, a lot of people are excited about. You add it to your back end with Kyle Duggar and Brian Cook there as well. And I think the mindset, certainly from Zach Taylor and Duke Tobin right now, is, well, we're going to surround them with much better players, and hopefully that allows them to take a step forward, even if it's just an incremental step forward. They need to progress from what they did last year. A lot of us are obviously very concerned that that position did not go addressed. We'll see if it gets addressed. Well, it definitely will sometime this weekend. How early it gets addressed, that remains to be seen. But a lot of pressure is on those two rookie linebackers who are now going into year two to significantly improve. And I think they're set up to do that because they've got some good coaches there defensively and a lot better players around them now.
The Las Vegas Raiders draft room celebrating the expectation, of course, Fernando Mendoza to be the what?
Isn't that the funniest thing in the world? You got the first overall pick, and you make the draft, and everyone's shaking hands like, we got it. We got our guy. Congrats, everyone. We got our guy. Called in our guy. And I know it's just a facade. And, a lot of this is pomp and circumstance. I was actually in Bloomington, Indiana today. Did not see Mendoza around. I was looking for D'Angelo Pons because that's who we're going to get in the second round. But it's a lot of this draft, as we're just going to be reacting on top of talking about the Bengals, is just pomp and circumstance, and it's so silly. It's so silly.
Speaking of pomp and circumstance, I got to be honest with you guys. The draft being held in Pittsburgh, I'm a little jealous.
Okay.
I'm a little jealous.
Whoa. Of the people at the draft or of the city of Pittsburgh?
Of the city of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I don't care about the people of Pittsburgh.
No,
I care about
no.
the city. And I want, there's been a lot of conversation about maybe Cincinnati making a bid to host the NFL draft in the future. Obviously, we already know next year it's planned for Minnesota, if I'm remembering correctly. But nonetheless, there is a process around it. Cincinnati has the opportunity to put in a bid. I know that the council and a lot of people around here have been talking about putting together a bid. I, for one, would love to see the NFL draft in Cincinnati, potentially in front of Union Station. How great would that be? Stone, where would you put the NFL draft if it was in Cincinnati?
Oh, put me on the spot here.
On the spot. We didn't talk about this before the
Hamilton,
show.
Ohio. Hamilton, Ohio is the only place to have the draft.
Let's get it right there by the Grail. Clear out some space.
Right in the banks.
On the banks.
Right
Clear
in
out
front of
some
Great
space.
American
You're going to have to
Ballpark.
be creative, but yeah, I like that as kind of the backdrop.
No,
there.
I agree. You know what's funny is you said you were jealous, and Craig, as the more and more we get to know each other, as we're having beers, having pints together, everyone's out here where we're having beer, we're having fun. You said you were jealous of the people of Pittsburgh. I have empathy for them there. Like, you see that and you're like, I want that here. I am empathetic for everyone that went to the draft. They have to breathe in the Pittsburgh air. They have to breathe in the smog and the smugness that comes around Big Ben Roethlisberger. You talk about being all in, how the Bengals are all in. I wish the NFL was a little more all in. How are you going to put Big Ben on the front of your NFL draft, one of your key moments of the year? You're going to put Ben Roethlisberger? Like, if the one thing I think about the NFL draft or the NFL period is, like, this is a league with a high moral standing. That's what the NFL, that's how I've always thought of the NFL, from CTE and all the charges and everything like that against them. And you're going to put Big Ben up there? Come on.
All right, the pick is in from the Las Vegas Raiders. Commissioner at the podium, and it is, of course, no surprise.
Did not see that.
Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 overall pick, the quarterback out of Indiana. And Stone, I want to get your take on this. This is a notoriously weak draft, I think, if you talk to most experts in terms of depth and also just the star power. You look at Fernando Mendoza, and there were certain games where maybe he didn't stand out as a star, but you look at the overall numbers, 3,500 yards last year, 41 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. Maybe he doesn't jump off the screen, but he makes big plays for Las Vegas. What is it about Fernando Mendoza that makes him the number 1 overall pick?
Yeah, this was obvious that they had to go with him. You mentioned it being a weak draft compared to some of the years in the past, and I definitely agree it is, but he clearly is the best player in this draft, the best quarterback in this draft, and the Raiders desperately needed a quarterback, and it was a no-brainer decision for them to select Fernando Mendoza. He's not going to blow you away with his arm strength, right? He doesn't have that Trevor Lawrence type of arm. I wouldn't even compare him to Joe Burrow nearly as a prospect. Burrow, a much better prospect than Fernando Mendoza, but something about what's in between the ears from him and his toughness and his ability to rise to the occasion in the biggest moments. Hand-up accountability. It took me a little bit to get on board with Fernando Mendoza, but if you watch the way he played down the stretch for Indiana, you don't necessarily need to be putting up 40 points on the scoreboard, but some of the plays that he made against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, some of the plays that he made throughout the duration of the playoffs, and some of the plays he made in the second half of the national title game, that is what Tom Brady's looking for. That's what John Spytek's looking for. That's what Clint Kubiak is looking for as well, and understand that Kubiak's going to be a guy that wants to run the ball. And that's definitely what Indiana did. He had a lot of help running the ball, and he's not afraid to turn his back to the defense a little bit, run some of that option stuff. I think it's a no-brainer fit for Vegas. Now, are you going to be able to compete with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes and Sean Payton and Bo Nix? I don't know about that. Might take some time, but they had to go with Mendoza. A good pick for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The New York Jets now on the clock. But, Reid, I want to get back to a conversation we were having before, and that is about being all in. Obviously, we know that the young linebacking core may be a point of weakness, right? Oren Burks as your third linebacker was certainly a point of weakness last year. Once this is all said and done and we get through Saturday, what moves, if any, are you looking for the Bengals to move to maybe even take it to that next level of quote-unquote all in?
I don't know. The next level of all in is you got to still see the majority of these draft picks be on the defensive side. They've done great things. They've made great strides. to fortify the defensive side of the ball. But you still have to worry about the depth. You still have to get plenty of pieces. The boat was sinking. You don't have full plugs in. You don't have new planks on the boat, but you're at least stopping the water from coming through. Now you've got to fortify that a little better. So, like in the second round, if you can get some help in the secondary, get a cornerback. Can you get another safety? Can you get, maybe someone that can rotate into that linebacking position? We've talked at great length about how important veteran leadership is at the linebacker position. Maybe beside any other position in the league, it takes time to grow in that. But still, you've got to be able to get the depth. You've got to be able to continue to improve this defensive side. I am so happy with what they've been able to do this on the defensive side of the ball this year. I'm excited to see what they do over the next few days.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Joe Burrow and keeping him happy. Reports this week, obviously, Adam Schefter specifically, notorious Bengals lover. First of all, let's get this out of the way. Adam Schefter loves the Cincinnati Bengals, but he went on Get Up this week and talked about this move and specifically about Joe Burrow and keeping him happy. How real is the concern if you're the Cincinnati front office that, first of all, you got to keep your quarterback happy, but second of all, that he may force his way out at some point if you don't go all in like this that you have so far this offseason?
I think very real. And, when I was talking earlier this week about kind of the Dexter Lawrence acquisition, that was one of my big takeaways. Obviously, you're in a spot now where you can compete, potentially win a world championship in 2026, but also this sends a message to your superstar players, and specifically Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow can no longer have these press conferences where he's getting emotional and he's depressed and insinuating that the Bengals as an organization aren't doing enough to help him. Here you go. Here's everything you need. You want a superstar defensive player? Here you go. You want your two boys to get paid on offense? Here you go. You want Mike G to get paid on offense? Here you go. You need your offensive line beefed up? Here you go. You want an OBJ extension? There you go. Draft Amarius Mims? There you go. The Bengals are checking all their boxes for Joe Burrow. Now the onus is on him. Obviously, he's got to stay healthy, but it's up to him. He's got to go play good football. So I agree. The Bengals needed to put themselves in a position where they were showing Joe Burrow, like, hey, we're not going to leave you hanging here, right? This isn't a Mike Trout in Los Angeles situation. We're going to help you try to, elevate your performance and have postseason success. And they did it. So now the onus is on the players, Zach Taylor, and specifically Joe Burrow.
All right, Stone, we're going to come right back to you. The New York Jets at the podium now. Roger Goodell announcing the selection.
Oh,
it
my.
Is David Bailey. We talked about this before the show. It was long expected that the New York Jets would be going with Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Instead, David Bailey from Texas Tech, someone who many thought may be a target for the Bengals at 10, now goes number 2. What was it about David Bailey, you think, that pushed him over to the edge to be the number 2 pick?
Well, it was all the traits versus production conversation. Right. And not to say that Arvell Reese didn't have any production at Ohio State. I think that would be laughable. He was all over the place, specifically the first half of the year. But if you turn on the tape and watch what he was able to do, he being David Bailey with Texas Tech in Lubbock, he was making plays left to right. He was filling up the stat sheet. And ultimately, it feels like New York is getting a more proven player and a guy that can come in and contribute more quickly than Arvell Reese. I don't know if that's the decision I would make, but they're definitely getting a heck of a pass rusher.
All right, the Cardinals on the clock now. Reid, let's talk about that specifically. There's been a lot of conversation for the Bengals specifically around that idea of production versus athleticism. We saw the pick last year with Shamar Stewart leaning more into that athleticism and what they think that player can turn into compared to maybe the production at the collegiate level. What are your thoughts on those two and how the Bengals should attack this draft moving forward?
Well, they were always in a unique spot over the past few years because they were picking in the middle to late parts of the draft, to where even when you're talking about talent versus production, you weren't dealing with the top tier talent and you weren't dealing with the top tier production. You were dealing with someone that was a step down behind that. So when you're picking in the 18th pick, I don't mind going for the home run. I don't mind swinging for the fences as they did with Shamar Stewart, as they did with Amarius Mims. I don't mind that whatsoever. Unfortunately, we have a team that has not had a history of developing talent. We have not had that. There's been no track record of, hey, you come here to Cincinnati, we turn you out into a great football player. Most of the great players that we've had were great. Everyone knew they were great players when they were coming in. You're talking about the Joe Burrows. You're talking about the Jamar Chases. You're talking even about like the Joe Mixon that fell in the second round. Everyone knew Joe Mixon was going to be a great player. There was other problems around him, and that's why he fell to where the Bengals were picking. So I don't mind the process of when you're picking to the middle to the late of the draft. Hey, let's go for the home run hitter. It just was always strange that it felt like the Bengals were very close, right? You could get a player that could fill in immediately, but instead we're trying to go for something that could pan out in 4 to 5 years. So it really just fluctuates year to year. But once you commit to what you're going to do as a franchise, you've got to own up to that. And it's pretty clear that the Bengals are committing to, we're going to take high trait guys, we're going to take high talent guys, and we're going to try to develop them into great players.
Stone, we talked before the show that this might be a wild night in the first round of the NFL draft. Obviously, David Bailey, the first surprise pick of the night. Now the Cardinals are on the clock. There's been conversations around them potentially trading back, maybe somebody moving up. If you were potentially in this move, first of all, is there a player on the board that you're like, I got to run to the podium and get this guy? Or if you're down in the draft, is there someone that you got to trade up because you absolutely want somebody and now that they're available?
Yeah, as we're watching this live, there's about 2 minutes on the clock. I think there are some teams that maybe view they're an edge rusher away from having tremendous success. If I am one of those teams, I'm definitely thinking about trading up for a guy like Arvell Reese. I'm an Arvell Reese believer. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to be really, really good quickly. But if you're going to move up to number 3, we saw it a couple of years ago when the Houston Texans moved up to 3 to draft Will Anderson. They had to give up a boatload in order to get that pick. Now, it worked out great for him. They just gave Will Anderson an extension. He's the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the league. But it's not like, oh, yeah, here's a second-round pick. You can move up to 3. It's going to take a lot if you need to move up and pick ultimately at that 3rd overall spot. I think Arvell Reese is a very, very talented player and worthy of trading up for, but doesn't seem like somebody's going to do that here.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, Arvell Reese, some had him as the top overall prospect in this year's draft. Reid, I saw you pointing at me.
Well, I was just going to, once again, just talk about the great venue that is Smoke Justis. We've got a great bartender behind the bar. Alex, be sure to tip her, get some drinks. We'll be hanging around and moving around here in a few minutes. I'm going to go around here in a few minutes to get people's guesses on who's going to be taken in the Bengals slot at 10. We have some homage T-shirts to give away. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Just wanted to give a quick shout-out to everyone here. We got Spearcat Darren's my man. He's been hard on me recently. He's been hard on me, but I feel like if there was dirt around here, we'd find some and we'd bury a hatchet underneath the dirt. But, yeah, Darren's my guy. We still got some T-shirts to give away, so if you guys are here and you want a T-shirt, come on up, and we'll hang out here in a few minutes.
Absolutely. All right, I see now that the Cardinals' pick is in. They decide to stick at 3. We'll see what that pick is in just a few moments. But, Stone, I want to talk about the possibilities at 10. Obviously, Reid just talked about it. We'll do a little competition here for everybody at Smoke Justis. Tell us who you think will be picked at number 10. Those people that get it right will either get a T-shirt or enter into a drawing for a T-shirt from Homage. There were a lot of possibilities. Reid and I did some shows about who those possibilities were. Obviously, McCoy had some knee injuries that now maybe is going to knock him out of the first potentially. We talked about David Bailey. We talked about all of these guys. If you were the Bengals, what is the ideal scenario for you sitting at 10 if you still had that pick?
Yeah, I've talked about this for weeks and months. I was talking about this when there were still multiple games left in the regular season. Caleb Downs had been my guy really since it became evident that the Bengals were going to be picking in the top half of the draft. I just think he's an unbelievable player, and he's a plug-and-play guy. And you're seeing it these days, this day and age in the National Football League, that plug-and-play safety that you can move around, right, that big nickel guy. Obviously, he doesn't have the size as a guy like Kyle Hamilton, but to me, the versatility that he brings to the table is unbelievable, and that's why I had interest in taking him at 10.
All right, the Cardinals pick is in. The commissioner is at the podium. We'll see now who the pick is for the Arizona Cardinals. Will it be Arvell Reese?
Oh, wow.
It will not. Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, sneaks up all the way to number 3. He was a name all process long that people thought may be even the most talented player in this entire draft. Arizona obviously had some pieces at running back, but they decide to go with Jeremiah Love over Benson and some of the other DeMarcado, some of the other pieces they had. Talk to me about Jeremiah Love, Stone.
Yeah, look, he's a guy that should be picked here, but he's a running back, so you have to wage that battle in your brain, whether or not a running back is worthy of going number 3 overall. I respect this pick a lot from Arizona, to be completely honest with you. Obviously, they got questions at quarterback. Brissett is their answer in the short term, but I think they'd very much be interested in trading for a guy, or probably not trading for a guy, but drafting a guy at some point in the NFL draft. But Jeremiah Love's a true do-it-all type of guy. He can run in between the tackles. He can run outside. He's a pass-catching threat out of the backfield. He can block. So he's definitely a top 5 pick. Is it a reach to take him at 3? Honestly, I don't think so. Good pick, Arizona.
One of the conversations all process long, Reid, has been about positional value.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was part of the conversation with the Bengals and Caleb Downs at the safety position. Running back has historically not been a position that's been drafted this high. Your thoughts on taking a running back at number 3 for Arizona?
Well, I mean, Jeremiah Love, there's a lot of people would put him as the top prospect. If you're grading it, everything's equal, all positions are equal. Jeremiah Love's better than his peers. There's no doubt about that. But if you even look at the history of guys that are taken in the top 5, yeah, you got Saquon Barkley. Great. Then you got Leonard Fournette.
He was good. Pretty solid.
But like a top 5 pick? Like, was he a top 5 pick? Was Ezekiel Elliott was a great top 5 pick. Trent Richardson wasn't. Like, it's kind of a mixed bag there. And the problem with running back is you normally can get really good production in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. So that's why people are like, you kind of stay away from it. But every once in a while, you do get the Saquon Barkley that's taken number 2 overall. You do get, even Christian McCaffrey who's taken top 10. You get that kind of great players. It's a weird pick. I think it is a weird pick. I'll say this, though. In a draft that doesn't have the best talent, and I don't think I'm speaking outside of terms here, everyone knows this talent in this draft isn't as top tier as it's going to be next year, as 2021 was. I don't mind you going out and getting, we'll take the best guy that is, he's going to be a great player in this league. I don't mind that. He's a sure thing. Is he going to be as impactful as an Arville Reese or David Bailey is or Fernando Mendoza are? Probably not if those guys pan out. But he's going to be a great player. He's going to be an impact player for a long time.
I think one of the things that comes into play when you're talking about drafting a running back, especially at number 3, is slot value in terms of that contract. Being drafted at number 3, if I'm not mistaken, is going to automatically immediately enter him into the top 3 running backs paid in the NFL. That's a big investment for a team who maybe you didn't identify running back as the number 1 need. I mean, one of the things that we talk about a lot when drafting is that you have control of these guys for 5 years at a theoretically affordable rate for their position. Drafting a running back and paying him a top $3 makes it a bigger challenge, I guess, to get over that hurdle. You know better than I do. Is Jeremiah Love worth today being a top 3 paid running back in the NFL already?
I think he's a really, really good player. And as Reid mentioned, it's a draft that doesn't have a ton of uber-talented guys. And understand that you got a new head coach in Arizona, and it's an offensive-minded guy, Mike LaFleur. So he's more focused on trying to address the offense, and he feels like a running back could come in and really be that guy that can help spark their offense.
The problem with this pick is, and Jeremiah Love might be a tremendous player. Saquon Barkley was a tremendous player. Did he turn around the Giants? No. The problem with taking a running back at 3 when you're a rebuilding team is they're not a foundation. They're the cherry on top. They're not the meat and potatoes. They're what you have after dinner. Like, running back is a supplement to all the things that make a great football team. I have no doubt in my mind that Jeremiah Love is going to be a great player. But I don't think this makes the Arizona Cardinals a more viable team than they were 5 minutes ago.
Well,
and I don't think that's absurd to say.
It's not, but the Cardinals
real quick for some context. The number 3 pick, slot value, 4-year contract, $53 million, makes him the highest paid running back in terms of average annual value. The highest paid previously, Josh Jacobs from Green Bay, Travis Etienne, new pronunciation, Travis Etienne, 4 years, $48 million for each of those two. They'll make more this year than will Jeremiah Love. But in terms of years 3 and 4, when Jeremiah Love is going to make $14 and $17 million, that's a big investment, Stone.
The Cardinals are just so cooked, though, Reid. I mean, they're like right there with the Jets. Like, what They need a quarterback. They need
so they
receivers.
should just
they
not
need a running
try.
back.
So
No.
they should just you know what? If you take that sentiment, they're a terrible team with a bad roster. They should just get good players. Then yeah, that makes sense. But here's the thing: is like I said, they're not a foundation. They're not where you can build the house from. They're shingles. They're gutters. They're nice lights. They're the Christmas decorations. They're what make your house look pretty. That's what a running back is.
Yeah, just real quick, running back depth in Arizona. James Conner, Tyler Algier, they went out and signed this offseason. and then Trey Benson that they just drafted 2 years ago.
How much money do they have wrapped up at that position?
Oh, my goodness.
The Tennessee Titans have drafted Carnell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, goes number 4, and now all of a sudden the eyes are on Arvell Reese's slide. How far down does he go? And Stone, this is that scenario that we talked about where maybe, just maybe, you start to second-guess that trade for Dexter Lawrence when all of these offensive pieces start to go off the board, and you would have had your pick of defensive choice at 10. Carnell Tate, let's start there. I think a lot of people penciled him into Tennessee at 4, maybe with Jeremiah Love, but I don't know that necessarily we expected it at 4, right? Like we talked about, maybe there's a run at wide receiver later on. Tennessee's trying to load up Cam Ward with weapons here.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all. Look, in a typical draft, Carnell Tate is going in the teens or the low 20s. He is not going. This is not Jamar Chase. This is not Justin Jefferson. This is not CeeDee Lamb. And that's no disrespect to him. I think he's going to be a solid player. But number 4 overall, when you just had elite defensive players slide down, and Bob Sala's a defensive-minded guy.
This is our blueprint. Like people don't want to talk about this. The Bengals made this blueprint for the rest of the league. You get a quarterback, and then you supply him with as much weapons as possible. And what happened? Oh, in year 2, once we got Jamar Chase, they go to the Super Bowl. So everyone's been trying to match that. The problem with it, you just said the Cardinals are cooked. Like, the Tennessee Titans aren't close. Like, they're not that close. And people said that about the Bengals, and I get that. But, like, Carnell Tate isn't Jamar Chase. That's where we selected Jamar. He's not Jamar Chase. He's not going to be that crazy of an impact player. And the thing is wide receivers have been coming into this league, good wide receivers, at an unbelievable clip. You don't need to go get a great wide receiver in the top 10 anymore because you can get a pretty good one the same way that I just talked about running back in the late first, early second, middle second. So the move doesn't need to be made.
It almost feels to me a little bit like they were expecting Jeremiah Love to be there at 4 for them. They make that pick. Obviously, they have the Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears. They're looking for upgrades at that position. They knew going in, hey, Jeremiah Love's a top-tier talent. If we can get him at 4, we win. And then all of a sudden he's off the board at 4. And now you're like, oh, shoot, what am I going to do? They went out and signed Wan'Dale Robinson. They've got Alec Iomanor that they drafted last year. They have Calvin Ridley. Chimere Dike had a breakout season last year as a rookie. Wide receiver didn't feel like as much of a need for the Titans as many other positions, including defensive end, who, by the way, their depth chart is Jordan Elliott, Jermaine Johnson, Solomon Thomas, Jacob Martin, like guys you've never heard of before, Stone. Is this just one of those scenarios where they got caught off guard and they're like, oh, shoot, we got to go?
I think it's a great point. I guess Love was their guy, and then he wasn't there, and I don't know if they panicked, but they're like, well, we were going to take offense. We were going to help out Cam Ward, like Reid said, so I guess we'll take a receiver here. But to me, this is mind-boggling. To me, this is a horrible move. And keep in mind that Cleveland is 2 picks away, and all the Buckeyes, Styles, Reese, and Downs are still available. You would think no way in the heck they would go defense. But that could be a serious problem if they do.
Well, the tackles are still available, and their line is notably pretty bad. Here's the funny thing. So you mentioned this after that pick came in, and we're waiting for it to come up here. Our guy, it's now looking. I talked about it all. I did the calculus when we were talking about who we're going to get at number 10. Is how many offensive guys we're going to be taking before that 10th pick. It's looking more and more likely that one of those guys that we really wanted were going to be available. That's okay. That's okay. If Caleb Downs is there, if Arvell Reese is there, if Sonny Styles is there, if Ruben Bain's there, that's okay. We got Dexter Lawrence. And I think if we all would have said at face value, would you rather have for this next year Caleb Downs? Would you rather have Reuben Bain? Would you rather have Sonny Styles? Would you rather have Jermon McCoy or Mansour? We would all take Dexter Lawrence. So while it's looking more and more likely that the 10th pick would have laid out nice for us, it's okay. We got Dexter Lawrence. We got the best deal there.
And, of course, the team that we traded with for Dexter Lawrence, the New York Giants, has 2 picks now in the top 10 and has unreal flexibility in terms of what they do here at 5 now before they then pick again at 10. Where are the Giants going here at 5?
Harbaugh's licking his chops because I don't know if they expected that Arvell Reese would potentially be available. I think they probably had their mind on either Styles or Downs, but now another Buckeye enters the fold with them and Arvell Reese. Obviously, he's probably going to be more of an edge guy, not going to be an interior guy, not going to be a Dexter Lawrence replacement. And they just got Abdul Carter last year, but there's got to be some intrigue from New York that a guy that was expected to go 2, 3 at the worst is going to be available.
Guys, I mean, you're in the middle of your comment, your thoughts there. I think Michael Ackley's here in the house. So we got the Michael Ackley in the house. I got to get him a T-shirt here in a second. Just wanted to give a shout-out to everyone here there. Sometimes someone comes in and your jaw drops for a second. That's how I felt for Michael Ackley. That's my guy.
It's great to see him. And
my
he's
guy.
repping Dexter Lawrence there.
He's got that
On the
Clemson
hat.
hat on.
True. That is true.
Love it.
Or Deshaun Watson, whichever Clemson Tiger you think.
All right, look, the Giants pick is in, but we are going to a commercial, so we'll take a break as well real quick, and we'll make sure that we thank our presenting sponsor, QC Kinetics.
If knee pain or shoulder pain is slowing you down, slowing down your performance, whether it be on the golf course, the pickleball court, or even in the gym, talk to the care team at QC Kinetics Cincinnati about regenerative medicine options. Learn more at qckinetics.com or call 513-655-3356. The team over there is absolutely incredible. They have a location in Liberty Township right across from Lakota East High School. The folks at QC Kinetics bring a different approach with regenerative medicine, and you don't have to be an athlete. If you're just a weekend warrior here in Cincinnati, dealing with back pain or trying to get ready for golf season, they can help. Check out the team at QC Kinetics and see what they're all about. Again, visit qckinetics.com or call 513-655-3356, qckinetics.com, or call 513-655-3356, and be sure to tell them that we at Chatterbox Sports sent you.
Would you consider yourself an athlete? You said you don't have to be an athlete. Would you consider yourself an athlete, Stone?
As much as I would like to say yes, I mean, washed up high school athletes, you know. Well, what, do you still consider yourself an athlete over there, Reid Mouse?
I've never been an athlete. I've never been an athlete. You ask my family who the best athlete is in the family, and you rank them.
Okay.
There's 4 kids in my family. I'm 4th. That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And that's why now my entire life is proving that I'm a decent athlete. Running the picnics, running against, and I'm going to be. There's a guy I'm running against.
Yeah.
In the house, I got to whoop his tail, but we'll see if that happens. I don't think it's going to happen.
Look, sometimes, I said this before I started with Chatterbox as the Giants pick is in here, I was one of those guys that would just watch and enjoy the draft.
Alex
right?
is giving us refills.
Woo.
Look at
She
this.
knows we've got that credit card on file. She's just trying to run it up. Look, I was one of those guys that would just watch and enjoy that. These are the moments, though, realistically, that make the draft so enjoyable for you because there's so much that can happen. You talk about just the results in terms of not only your team, but just all the way up and down the draft board and the chaos that can happen. We're seeing it already tonight. This was expected to be one of the more chaotic first rounds in a long time. That's already happening here, first round, first 4 picks, Stone.
Yes, it is. And, you know, it's funny because we spend so much time talking about all these prospects, and we're all doing mock drafts, and people that cover the National Football League are also doing all these mock drafts there as well. And you put yourself in a spot where it's like all of us are all wrong already. Like, did anybody – I'm curious, does anybody out there have a perfect mock draft through 4 picks? There can't be very many at all.
There cannot be many. The New York Giants pick at number 5. Arvell Reese. There it is. The slide ends at pick number 5. Not a surprise. Again, many thought that he was the number 1 or number 2 talent in this draft. Arvell Reese to the New York Giants at 5.
Yeah, I think, when they saw that slide, when they saw Carnell Tate go off the board at 4, I bet Joe Shane, John Harbaugh, and all those guys in New York were just laughing and doing cartwheels in their draft room, to be honest with you, because they probably thought, yeah, we're going to get a really good defensive player in either Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles. Well, guess what? You might even have a better player than that. Definitely a better prospect than that. I think all three of these guys are going to be really, really good, but I don't think there is much debate that as a prospect and the traits that he has, the athleticism, coupled with some of the production, he's clearly the best prospect out of Ohio State, in my opinion, as he daps up all his teammates on the way to the podium. But they got to be thrilled that they got him. And they also know in the back of their mind that there's going to be another really, really good player available for him in a couple of picks at number 10.
I was just informed that the Real Spirit Cat actually bought these beers for us. It wasn't on our tab. So shout out, of course, to Darren and the Real Spirit Cat for the beers. Appreciate it for sure. I think there's something to be said here. Back-to-back picks for Ohio State now.
Yep.
This is a program, obviously, that for a long time has been trading up. The Kansas City Chiefs making their way up to pick number 6. They were slotted to pick at number 9. Now that these picks have gone a little bit haywire, they're like, hey, we got to get up there and make our pick. If you're the Chiefs, who's the pick for you here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Clearly, they want to add somebody to their defense, I would say, with Carnell Tate being gone. The pick's in, so their mind was made up. They knew right away who it was going to be. You would think it is Sonny Styles, which would be a heck of an acquisition for Kansas City. But this is what winning teams do. This is what winning organizations do. They are aggressive. You knew. Is Kansas City sitting here, and whatever they gave up, maybe they gave up their 2027 first-round pick, Craig, to get to this spot. But in the back of their mind, they're going, we're picking 28, 29, 30, 31, or 32 next year, so we're not that worried about a future draft pick. So I'm curious to find out what they gave up here in this move. But clearly they have an eye on somebody. My gut would say it's Sonny Styles. But we're about to find out here in a second.
Here is the trade breakdown from Adam Schefter. The Chiefs, of course, get pick number 6. In return, the Browns get pick number 9, 74, and 148. No pick next year. No second-round pick. They trade their first-round pick. And, again, it's just 3 spots, so maybe it wasn't as expensive as we thought. But 9, 74, and 148 to the Browns for 3 spots.
I can't wrap my head around that. That, to me, seems like Brett Veach just fleecing Andrew Berry and those guys up in Cleveland. It's hard for me to wrap my head around that. I would have thought for sure that there would be a higher pick involved, whether it be this year or next year in 2027. That, to me, is shocking.
All right. Now, obviously the Chiefs let go of their starting left tackle or right tackle this year. They let go of their tackle this year. Moving on. There is a need on the offensive line. Is there a world where Maui Goa is the pick here instead of one of those defensive players?
Well, I would think so, but I didn't know it was necessary for them to move up to 6 in order to get that player. I think definitely one of the 2 tackles would have been there for him at 9 between Maui Noa and Fano, but yeah, I don't know. But then again, they didn't have to give up much to get to this spot, so maybe they're like, you know what, we really love this tackle, and we don't want to, we don't have to, the Browns aren't requiring us to give up too much, so we'll just give away a couple of later picks and ultimately move up. But fascinating move. The thing you can't argue is that the Chiefs are a winning organization. They know what they're doing, and they're being aggressive. That's a common theme amongst the best teams in the NFL.
Absolutely. Now, I apologize I missed this earlier. Harrow with a $5 super chat. Who day indeed. Appreciate you, Harrow. Apologize for missing that earlier. Now, on the other side, Stone, I want to talk about the Browns, right? Obviously, a lot of needs in order to get their team to a competitive level. From their perspective, maybe they're thinking offensive line is still going to be there at 9. Maybe you're happy with the pick that you have and they can move back and feel comfortable that your target is still there?
Yeah, I think to me, Cleveland doing that signals that, hey, we love our defense. We have to address the offense. And I'm sure there was some temptation there from Andrew Berry and those guys where it's like, well, Styles is available, Downs is available, but Cleveland staying disciplined, understanding that the defense in Cleveland's not the problem. They got a lot of problems in Cleveland, but not really many on the defense. So they were able to stockpile on some picks and ultimately move back. But let's find out who Kansas City's taking.
Yeah, we'll find out in just a moment as Roger Goodell makes his way to the podium. Of course, last year, the Browns selected 2 quarterbacks in the NFL draft, the Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. They trade back from number 6. The Kansas City Chiefs pick at number 6 is Mansoor Delane, the cornerback from LSU, goes number 6. The Chiefs moving up 3 spots in order to pick Delane. Reid and I did a show on Delane last week talking about him potentially as the pick for the Bengals at 10. The Chiefs felt really strongly about Delane, move up to number 6. You have to wonder, how much did the injury to the other cornerback affect this pick and the need to move up?
Yes, potentially, for sure. But again, did you need to move up to 6 in order to grab a guy like Delane? But clearly Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and company saw a guy that they fell in love with and said, we're not messing around. Cleveland's not asking for much here. We'll go up and get our guy. But to me, the most shocking thing about all this is we're sitting here at 7, and Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs have not yet gone. I just went on a rant when we first came on here about how much I liked Caleb Downs as a prospect and how much I liked him potentially being here in Cincinnati. I agree with Reid. Dexter Lawrence isn't in this draft. You would take Dexter Lawrence out of all those guys. But if Sonny Styles is potentially available at 10 at that position of need for Cincinnati, we might need to revisit it a little bit. I'm not going to say that it's a bad move to sign Dexter Lawrence, but if Styles is available at 10, that would be shocking. We didn't even consider that as a possibility, really.
Apologies to Jermod McCoy for forgetting his name. Jermod McCoy, of course, had the knee injury that missed all of 2025. Some reports now that he may have an injury in his other knee as well that may knock him out for all of 2026. His draft status is yet to be seen, but the Chiefs go with Mansoor Delane. And look, the truth of the matter is that we're maybe freaking out a little bit because these guys may still be available, but the Bengals pick at number 10 is still 4 picks away, so you could very easily have Downs, Styles, and Bain be the next 3 picks, and the Bengals still look like they're making out golden here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves and act like, hey, this is crazy, because the truth of the matter is that outside of Maui Goa, it really is those 3 defenders still, at least consensusly, as the next 3 picks. Whether or not that actually happens, I guess we'll find out, but I'm a little bit in shock on how these first 6 picks has gone. And like you said before, how many perfect drafts are out there right now? None.
Absolutely none.
Reid, welcome back.
Yeah, I had.
What were the consensus picks at number 10?
Okay, so I was walking around. First off, I had to get the beers from Darren, Spirit Cat. Thank you so much. And then secondly, I had to go around and start gauging everyone's guess. We're playing a game. We have some homage T-shirts to give away. And I said, hey, who is going to be taken where the Bengals are selecting at number 10? The consensus is about who we'd want the Bengals to take at number 10. It's Ruben Bain. It's Caleb Downs. We do have some Jordan Tysons in there, which I think is an intriguing pick. We have one USC fan in the crowd that said Malachi Lemon. We said Lemon's going to be taken at number 10 overall. I think that's interesting. I had to talk Michael Ackley off of Peter Woods at 10. I said I don't think Peter Woods. He's staying with his Clemson Tigers, which I appreciate that. But I was like, I don't think Peter Woods is going to be taken at number 10. We got some Sonny Styles, which I haven't been paying attention to the last few picks. Is he off the board yet?
He's not off the board yet.
Okay.
Not off the board yet.
So I was thinking maybe by the time I sat back down, Sonny Styles would be put away.
So Reid, we'll get your reaction here because you've been kind of walking around.
I saw the Chiefs traded up.
Renew Mendoza, David Bailey 2, Jeremiah Love 3.
Wow.
Carnell Tate at number 4.
I saw that. I saw
Arvell Race went 5, and then Mansoor Delane, the Chiefs traded up to pick at number 6. We talked about Delane during our show last week, of course, as a potential target at number 10. I asked Stone this. Jermod McCoy, obviously, he missed all of 2025 with a knee injury. There's rumors that maybe he's going to have to miss 26 with another knee injury. How much did that affect the Chiefs wanting to move up to pick Delane, knowing that, hey, there may not be another cornerback in this draft at that level?
It's certainly, and we knew that there were going to be a lot of trades because the capital to trade up wasn't going to be all that inclusive, wasn't going to be all that expensive. But, I mean, Mansoor Delane, we really liked him, Craig. We really did because of his production at the college level. When it comes to some positions, you want to see, hey, were you just really good at a really high level for a really long time in college? And normally that plays in some capacity. You know the floor is really high when a player like Mansoor Delane plays at the college level. He's just a good player. And there's no doubt about it that they think that one of these guys, he's going to take them off the board. So I like the move. And normally the Chiefs are so well ran that, their moves work. So
Yeah. All right, the commissioner is at the podium to announce the Washington Commanders pick at number 7. Stone seems to think Sonny Styles is the clear-cut pick here.
And he is.
And he is. Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State, number 7 to the Commanders. Stone, this was a guy that you thought certainly should have gone before this.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Sonny Styles?
Yeah, I think it's a great pick for Washington. Dan Quinn, obviously a defensive-minded guy. They were in need of a guy that could come in and really help them defensively. Mind you, this is a team a couple years ago. They're in the NFC title game. Last year, they kind of awkwardly went all in, and it kind of blew up in their face. Obviously, their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, went down in the process, but they needed a younger player to come in, help elevate their defense, obviously from a performance perspective, but also from a leadership perspective as well. Sonny Styles checks a lot of boxes. We had the argument with him, too, about, well, it's not a premium position. It's linebacker. This is a good pick for Washington, and it probably feels like a steal for them that he was available at 7.
And now, Reid, we have to talk about it. We're in Ohio. Well, we're not in Ohio. We're in Kentucky.
We're not. We
we're
can talk
based
about
in
Kroger
Ohio.
Field, baby. UK. All the great football players.
But that's now 3 Buckeyes picked in the top 7 picks. I mean, that program is –
yeah, it's overrated. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Ohio State. Every time, think about this. I'm not doing a bit here. I swear. The last 4 can't miss, surefire Ohio State Buckeye prospects. How have they worked out? Chase Young, was he as everything he lived up to be? No.
He was pretty good for a while, though.
He was good for a little bit. Has Marvin Harrison Jr. lived up to the hype? No?
Not so much.
No? Okay. Just checking the tilt there. I mean, you could go back a little longer, like Denzel Ward, right? He was pretty good, still pretty good. His Ezekiel Elliott was good for a good period of time, but once again, we're talking about running back position. It just I'm not sold on the surefire, can't miss, and there's a couple, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, there's a couple guys that are surefire, can't miss out of Ohio State. So I'm just not sold.
All right. Speaking of surefire, can't miss, there were a number of people that thought that Caleb Downs is a surefire, can't miss, and you, of course, Stone, are one of them. Saints pick is in, then Cleveland at pick number 9, and then, of course, pick number 10. Caleb Downs, we talked about positional value. We talked about how solid he was in college. Is there anything beyond the position that has forced teams to wait for him beyond pick 7? If this was, you throw positional value out the board, where does he fall in terms of quality of talent in this year's draft?
Caleb Downs?
Yeah.
I think he would have gone by now, but I understand why he hasn't. I think we can have a conversation about him sliding and getting underdrafted if he falls outside of the top 10. So if the Saints or the Browns or the Giants do select him, then I think that's appropriate for where he lands. But if he falls outside of the top 10, I would consider that a slide. So I was high on him to the point where if I'm the Giants at 5, I would have considered taking it. But based on how some picks shaped out, with Jeremiah Love going 3 and Carnell Tate, I can understand why he's available right now.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Reid.
I was going to say, can we talk about something for a second?
Depends on what you want to talk about.
We talk about how this NFL and how even it is and how, diplomatic it is and whatnot. You watch this NFL draft every year. It's the same damn teams picking in the top 10. It's the New Orleans Saints. It's the Cleveland Browns. It's the Arizona Cardinals. It's the Tennessee Titans. It's the
Cincinnati Bengals.
It's the Las Vegas. Do we pick in the top 10 all that often? We ain't picking top 10 this year.
Not recently.
We picked twice in the past 15 years, right? 3 times. John Ross. Shout out John Ross.
Shout out John Ross.
But it's the same. We talk about the equity of the NFL and how fair it is. It's the true meritocracy in America now, where the best go to the top, and we see the same teams picking in the top 10 every single year, and we see teams like the Arizona Cardinals picking a running back at 3. We see the Tennessee Titans picking a wide receiver that would be a consensus top 25 in most years at number 4. So it's just funny. I'm just watching this, and that was just a thought that popped out.
It is funny, though, that, Reid mentioned it. Robert Saleh, the head coach at Tennessee, defensive coordinator, defensive-minded. He goes out and he picks offensive side of the ball in his first pick as new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. despite all of these talented people on the board available for him, I don't want to say the Bengals specifically. I know Reid said the Bengals. How much is the NFL shifting in terms of their approach, in terms of what wins championships? Because there has been a long time where, it was defense wins championship, and you go back to the Buccaneers and how great their defense were, and the Pittsburgh Steelers and their vaunted defenses of old. How much is today's NFL based on defenses winning championship versus the old days?
I think there's just so many ebbs and flows on a year-to-year basis. I mean, talking about running back, it was a few years ago where the running backs were getting together saying, we're not getting paid enough money, and we were like, well, you're crazy if you would draft a running back in the first round, and now we got a guy going at number 3 overall. So to your point about the defense, too, we saw Kansas City at the early stages of their dynasty where they were winning with offense, and then they continued to win when they shifted to defense. So I think there's ebbs and flows. I think a lot of people thought, well, you got to have a star quarterback to win. Well, Seattle just won with Sam Darnold. So I think it kind of changes on a year-to-year basis, which is part of the reason why it's so entertaining.
Well, it's just punch counter punch, right? It's that's the beauty of this league is a trend comes and then someone reacts to the trend. A trend comes, then someone reacts to the trend. We kind of started a trend. I mentioned it earlier. We started a trend. We kind of piggybacked off the offensive side, and we said, hey, you get a young quarterback, you supplement him with a lot of wide receivers. And what did everyone do? All right, we're going to get a lot of edge rushers. We're going to play Tampa 2. You got to be able to defend in the box, the run, and then have a lot of guys out on the perimeter to protect the pass. Okay, that's the model now. That's the model, is having just a lot of athletes on the defensive side, having a lot of wide receivers, and then just having someone to facilitate that. Where does the counterpunch come next? I will say this about the Bengals. Our bed's already made. Like, the way that we are built is already done. We just got to figure out a way to make it work, and I think it will work, but it's a pretty good bed. It's a California king in the form of, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all we have on the offensive side. Can we just make it work? And I think we can.
Yeah, but now you're seeing that shift like you talked about. The Bengals obviously had this elite offense that was putting up 40 points a game. Yeah. And now what happened? The last 3 years haven't made the playoffs. So now they have to shift, like you're saying, and they're focusing on defense. Obviously, still offense is important, and we know that, but the core is there. And so the need to add to that side of the ball is reduced significantly versus, of course, being able to build on that defense now. You've got that core in place. You've got them extended for a long-term period of time. Now it's, okay, how do we enable them to actually win a Super Bowl? And now you got to shift back to the defensive side of the ball because the offense alone didn't win a championship.
Yeah, but we're not changing the core identity of the Bengals. We're not going to be like, hey, we're a grounded pound team now. We're going to try to win 19-12 on a muddy day in Cincinnati. No, that's not who we are. That's not what it is. We're okay with a fast game. We're okay with that, and I think we can build a defense around, hey, we're going to have a fast team. There's going to be a lot of possessions on the defensive side, so we got to have guys with high motors. We got to have guys that are going to have to get after the quarterback at a good rate.
All right, the New Orleans Saints pick is in at number 8. Stone, I got to ask you, what do you think about the commissioner's outfit today with the buttons down halfway down his chest, blue on black?
Okay, I'm going
to
have to take a closer
look.
Take
a close look here when he announces this.
Stone is a good fashion guy. Stone is my personal fashion
we know
guy.
that everybody here is here to talk about fashion, so we appreciate you being here. What are your thoughts? He's got a couple buttons unbuttoned. He's got the black shirt, the blue jacket.
Yeah, we can't be doing the black with the blue like that.
All right.
There
Jordan Tyson, and it is official. The Bengals would have had one of the premier defensive players on the board at 10. Jordan Tyson, I got to be honest, I don't know where Grady is. Who's Grady?
Grady and Kareem said Jordan Tyson.
Look, I was with you. I thought Jordan Tyson was the target. I thought the Giants had a very clear, mapped-out plan. Defense at 5, offense at 10, and now here we are, Jordan Tyson, and we've got the Cavs game on a different screen over here. I wonder, his brother plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They talked earlier today about how they were going to make sure that they let him know when Jordan Tyson gets picked. I don't know if anybody expected it to be at number 7 to the New Orleans Saints, Stone.
No, I think it makes sense that New Orleans reached a little bit for a weapon. As crazy as this is to say out loud, Mickey Loomis and those guys in New Orleans, they're looking to get help for Tyler Shuck. They're looking to get a guy that he can go to. As crazy as that is to say out loud, and as they're showing the highlights here on Jordan Tyson, the athleticism is there. The upside is there. But at the same time, you're concerned about the medical and you're a little bit concerned about the size. So this is a risky pick. But again, a draft that isn't necessarily loaded with talents, and they have a defense that they feel comfortable with. I definitely would have still taken Caleb Downs in this spot if I was New Orleans, but it's not.
You love Caleb Downs. You've been trying to sell me on Caleb Downs for 8 months.
Yeah. All right, we have to talk, though, about the Saints. Obviously, the pick here makes sense, but one of the reasons it makes sense, they trade away Rashid Shaheed last year to the Seattle Seahawks. He goes on to win the Super Bowl. Their wide receiver room is garbage. Chris Olave is injured all the time. Devon Bailey, who they went out and signed from Denver, if I'm remembering correctly. Yep. Mason Tipton, Bub Means, Kevin Austin, Trey Palmer. I mean, if we're talking about the Bengals setting this trend and trying to address offense, Jordan Tyson makes a ton of sense for the Saints, despite the fact that maybe we didn't have it mapped out that way.
No, it does. I think the Saints surprised a lot of people offensively last year, and if you can be able to supplement that and continue to move, and that's a division that is, it's up in the air every single year for the most part, and the Saints, they make one or two good moves. I don't think it surprises a whole lot of people to think, all right, in January, the New Orleans Saints are they 11-win team? No. But are they 9-8 and win the NFC South? I don't think that surprises a whole lot of people at all. And Jordan Tyson's a move that can certainly get you there.
It feels like Cleveland's got to go offensive lineman here.
I think Caleb Downs feels like a layup here.
For Cleveland?
I know it doesn't fit the mold of their team.
I think if they were going defense, though, they would have just stuck and picked at 6.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Because again, this has been so surprising that it's been so offensive and maybe not the expectation for the draft. So we talked about it with Zach Taylor and about all of the mock drafts that they run through on their own, right? Try to figure out all these scenarios and how it could play out for them. I don't know how – obviously these guys are much better than we are, but how many of these people really thought this is how the draft was going to go and this was going to how it was going to lay out? Obviously, the Browns now on the clock at 9. Were they hoping that he was going to be available here with Jordan Tyson would be available at 9, and maybe they'd add to their wide receiver room? You talk about tackle. DeJuan Jones is there, and Titus Howard currently slotted in as their tackles. But then you look at the safety room. Grant Delpit is really inconsistent, and Ronnie Hickman is the free safety.
Can we kick them out of the league again? Can we move their team again? That's a disgusting roster. If you can't win in the NFL over 25 years, however long they've been back, you should just be banned. In fact, we should relegate. In the NFL, we should go to relegation, and the Browns would be in Division III football by now.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm in there.
And people are giving us crud on the chat because we're behind. We're deliberately not checking our phone.
We're not checking phones.
We are trying to do this live here at Smoke Justis.
We are trying to give you the most authentic reaction that we possibly can. We have our computers here. Not that we can show you because of the camera, but I'm on the stream. I'm running the stream with the graphics and updating the pick as they come in. Stone's watching the chat. Reid's watching the chat. We're doing our best to just live react as it happens so that you get our reaction and get authentic takes because the Browns pick is already in. You guys may already know what's happening. We don't. And guess what? That's part of the fun. Part of the fun is you get to laugh at us for our ridiculous takes that happen after the pick is already in because we just haven't seen it yet. So guess what? Enjoy it. Make fun of us. We'll take it. Make fun of the Browns, too, while you're at it because pick number 9 is in and Roger Goodell is at the podium. The Cleveland Browns at number 9 select Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah. Okay. The pick at number 9. Stone, you mentioned one of the tackles. Fano, number 1.
Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall when they moved back, right? Because they were sitting there at 6, and keep in mind, Sonny Styles was still available there where they were picking at 6, and I'm sure that was tempting for Andrew Berry and those guys in Cleveland, but they're good defensively. I know we just broke down the back end. They're not great necessarily on the back end, but if you look at Cleveland's roster, they've got guys on defense, and they have no guys on offense. They needed to add a player to that offensive line. They lost all their players this offseason. They're completely retooling it. They don't have a quarterback. They have nobody to throw the ball to. It had to be an offensive pick, and clearly they like Fano more than Maui Noa, which maybe is a surprise to some, but I wasn't exactly tapped into the study between the two tackles.
It's another good move by the Browns, in all honesty. I mean, AJ just put this in the chat. You know, you drop down three spots, and you get a guy that's going to help your team and someone that you circled, and you're like, hey, this is a guy that we think can help. The crazy thing about the Browns are it feels like they do the right move after right move, and still at the end of the year, they're still 4-13 every single effing year. So, like, it's just silly that – every year it feels like they're making the right moves, and it's just like, all right, what does it matter in the long run?
All right, it's time to have the conversation, gentlemen. Pick 10 is here. Obviously, we've seen from the people here at Smoke Justis, Ruben Bain, Jordan Tyson, Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Malachi Lemon, Caleb Downs. The Giants' pick is in at number 10. And they go the other offensive tackle, Francis Mauigoa from Miami, the pick at 10. Look, first of all, that wouldn't be the Bengals pick. We know that. But here we are. 10 has come and gone. Caleb Downs still on the board. Ruben Bain still on the board, amongst other. How are we feeling?
Well, I'll say this, because we're doing this little giveaway for the homage T-shirts. We have 4 people that have said Ruben Bain, 4 people that have said Caleb Downs. Whoever gets picked first, they get the homage T-shirts.
Okay.
So that's how we're doing the tiebreaker. No one got the 10th pick right, so we'll do the tiebreaker. If Caleb Downs is picked next or Ruben Bain's picked next, they get the homage T-shirt giveaway.
Stone.
Yeah. I think it makes sense when you look at the pairing of the picks, right? I'm sure it was tempting for them to take Caleb Downs there at that spot, but they're probably sitting there going, how in the world did we get Arvell Reese at 5? We need a lineman for Jackson Dart. Let's add him. So I can respect this pick for the New York Giants, and we got a trade here as Dallas has moved up.
One spot?
And, well, I think they want Caleb Downs.
Do they have both? Both?
Oh, my.
Did they somehow land George Pickens?
Did he move?
George Pickens signed his franchise tag today.
Yes.
Many were speculating that made him extremely tradable.
Okay. Could that potentially
Did they move George Pickens to Miami after they lost Tyreek Hill?
And Jalen Waddle.
And now Dallas has pick number 11 and pick number 12, but not George Pickens. Wow. Again, this is why we don't cheat. Because this is legitimate reaction. The Dallas Cowboys. Oh, no, it shows now Miami is at 12. So they moved up one pick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
One pick.
This has to be Caleb Downs.
Right? It's got to be. You're moving up one spot.
And Halfley would have taken him at 12.
What's the capital on
11.
moving up one spot? You get rid of a 5th?
No, I mean, based on what we saw to move up 3, you gave up a 3rd and a 6th. So I'd have to think to move up 1, you're still talking about a 3rd or a 4th, probably as a standalone pick. So we'll see what that pick looks like. I'll see if I can find it. But, man, surprise after surprise. And, again, we're talking about moving up one spot, and we talked about there are 2 stud players on the board still on the defensive side. Downs is still there. Is that the pick for the Cowboys?
I think it's got to be. I mean, Bain obviously is in the conversation. Dallas has to go defense here. Their defense was abysmal, honestly, comparative to Cincinnati, how they performed last year defensively. So it feels like it's either him or Bain for sure, and I think Downs is more of a foregone conclusion.
Cheap. Dolphins give up pick number 12, 177, and 180 in order to move up one spot. So they had 2 picks in late rounds that they gave up. So they gave up 2 late-round picks in order to move up a spot. Dolphins get 12, 177, and 180. Cowboys get number 11. The pick is in. We'll wait and see exactly who that pick is. But if you're Miami, you're adding draft capital here, and you still have your choice of at least 2 defensive players and maybe others if that's who your board's falling.
You would think in their minds they're like, Ruben Bain, he went to Miami. Let's just keep him right here. You figure Dallas is trading up to get, obviously, Caleb Downs, and then you pick Bain at 12. would be my guess.
How does that negotiation go? Like, how do you call someone up and be like, hey, we really like the guy you want. We know where you want to go. Like, I'm curious on how that all transpires.
The bigger conversation is not about, hey, we want to move up a spot. It's Miami calling Dallas and saying, hey, I'm getting calls from these other teams who want to move up for Downs. If you want Downs, you got to move up yourself. And so the question is, you look at the draft order, of course, was L.A. calling to say – L.A. probably not because they don't care about draft picks, but was Baltimore calling to put Caleb Downs alongside Kyle Hamilton? Was Tampa Bay calling? Were the Jets calling? Because that's what happens is you get a call from one team and then you call somebody else and say, hey, if you really want this guy, I got other guys ready to give me picks for it. What are you going to give me for it? But to the same sentiment, if you're Miami, you got to make that decision, right? Are you willing to move down 7 spots and risk your guy being there, or are you so set on Bain that, hey, I'm willing to move down 1 if you're going to take Downs, but you got to give me something to make that move. Otherwise, the Jets are going to take him.
Right. And I think Miami's probably trying to add picks. I mean, if there was a team that is rebuilding correctly, I would say it's Miami because they're stripping it all down. They said, let's bring in a new coach and Jeff Hafley. Let's bring in a new GM and John Eric Sullivan. Let's get rid of our wide receiver, who we really like, and Jalen Waddle. Looks like they're going to hang on to Achane, the running back. But beyond that, they're just completely retooling. They're not worried about 26. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even know if they're thinking about 27. They're looking for years into the future, and they're just trying to stockpile some picks. So in their eyes, there's probably not that big of a difference between Caleb Downs and Ruben Bain. They're like, someone wants to jump up 1 spot and take one of those 2 guys, that's fine by us. We'll still get the other guy.
The other conversation, though, Reid, is Miami, obviously we mentioned, they lose Tyreek Hill, they lose Jalen Waddle. They may be targeting Mekhi Lemon here, and ultimately they know, hey, at least these 2 primary defenders are still available. Other people are going to want them. We think Lemon's still going to be available in a couple picks. We'll move down, be able to add Lemon instead of going with Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert, and Tutu Atwell as our wide receiver core. Oh, by the way, we just went out and signed Malik Willis to a 3-year, $68 million contract. We've got to give him weapons. Lemon may be the pick here, and they felt comfortable moving down in order to still draft Lemon.
Yeah, no, they're obviously a defensive player is going to be taken here, so you can still get your guy.
Obviously.
I guess you're right. It's a good move if you're Miami. Stone, you said you like the way that they're rebuilding. They're certainly going about it the right way. I do wonder how much a city's mentality plays into how its NFL team plays, because I can't imagine. Obviously, the Knicks on the Dolphins over the past few years is, they're soft. Like, they're not a hard-nosed football team. Can you ever imagine the Miami Dolphins, just based on kind of the mentality of the city, ever being like a ground-and-pound team the same way that Pittsburgh is?
Right.
The same way that, Chicago has been over the past few years. No, you can't imagine that. So I do, I'm just curious on if you're able to completely transcend the kind of mentality of an entire city is. But we're waiting on the pick.
The official trade is on the board now. It's the 12th overall and then 2 fifth-round picks this year, which we mentioned, 4-11 overall. So pretty cheap for the Cowboys to be able to move up and make sure that they can make this pick. We have thoughts on who it is. The commissioner is at the podium ready to announce it. And then, Stone, after this announcement, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the Bengals trade and Dexter Lawrence and how things have played out here now that we're past number 10. Caleb Downs is the pick, as Stone prognosticated, the expert that you are. Caleb Downs to the Cowboys at number 11.
Yeah, I
got to go give out some T-shirts.
Let's do it. I think when Dallas made the move to go up, the writing was on the wall that it was going to be Caleb Downs at 11. Obviously, he would have been available for Cincinnati at number 10. Had Cincinnati been selecting at number 10 and passed on Caleb Downs and let him get to number 11, I would be incredibly frustrated. But guess what, Craig? They got Dexter Lawrence, and I'm completely fine with it.
And that's the conversation that has to be had, right? And you talk about a team that's ready to win. If you're Zach Taylor, you're probably on the hot seat right now. It's time to win. We got to get back to the Super Bowl. We heard about Joe Burrow's potential influence on this move and about how he's potentially influencing the way that the front office is currently operating. Look, the Bengals had to do something, and they needed something that was going to be an immediate impact. From their perspective, right, now that everything's played out, who would have a bigger impact day one on this Bengals defense, Dexter Lawrence or Caleb Downs?
Day one, Dexter Lawrence. Day one, Dexter Lawrence. This guy's been in the league for several years. He's played high-caliber football. He's been an All-Pro. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's been a captain. He's just more of a foregone conclusion. As much as I think Caleb Downs is going to be coming into Dallas and ready to go right here, right now, week one, and help bring winning to Dallas, I don't think it compares to a guy like Dexter Lawrence. And to Reid's point when we first popped on here, I'm not quite sure there is a more valuable position in the NFL, apart from quarterback, than a defensive lineman on the interior that can also get after the passer, and that's what Dexter Lawrence is.
All right, we officially gave away our Homage T-shirts. We appreciate Homage being a sponsor of Chatterbox Bengals.
I shout out to Steve, Sutton, Darren, and Stu for getting it right. I will admit that one of the shirts I ordered, I meant to hit XL. I hit extra small.
Anybody have anybody in their lives that can wear an extra small?
Well, my wife just sent me a picture of my 3-month-old baby girl. She's got a big old milk belly right now.
I'll take it to my 8-year-old. Okay, we're good.
All
right. Chatterbox Sports proud to partner with Homage, and we've got a special deal for everyone here in attendance. The first 100 listeners get 20% off site-wide at Homage. That includes all the great T-shirts, sweatshirts, and everyday gear that you see on their website. Just to note, a few exclusions do apply: starter jackets, New Heights gear, etc. To get your 20% off, use promo code CHATTER at checkout. Just go to homage.com/cbox and use promo code CHATTER, CHATTER, at homage.com/cbox. Please make sure you use that link, homage.com/cbox, so that we get credit. I'm wearing my Homage sweatshirt today. Love the material, of course. Love the throwback design. This little charging Bengal tiger, one of my favorite logos of Bengals history.
Yeah, you look great in that, Reid. Or, excuse me, Craig. I've got some great Homage stuff from Miami University that I like wearing there as well. They got great stuff. Reds, Miami, Bengals, you name it.
I thought you were a Bearcats guy.
Now, are we doing this here at our draft show?
Sure. We're over the river, so
Okay.
that's more of an Ohio rivalry.
What do you mean Bearcats guy? I support the Bearcats over the Musketeers, and rightfully so.
You are a Miami grad.
I am.
Their biggest rival is the University of Cincinnati.
That's not true. It's false.
Ask the administration there.
That's a false statement.
Ohio University, sir.
come
The
on.
Battle of the Bricks.
Come on, Reid.
That's what
Yeah.
I mean. Like, listen,
That's what I tell myself as an OU alum.
we work with Miami University.
Yeah.
I talk with them.
Oh.
They don't like the University of Cincinnati
Oh.
way more than OU.
Okay.
I can just
All
tell you
right.
that.
Yeah.
I
All
know
right.
this-
All right.
you-
That's-
All right,
fair.
look, I want to get back to the conversation around 10. I asked you about
Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence and Caleb Downs, but Reid, another wrinkle was thrown into the mix this week. Reports saying that the Cincinnati Bengals offered the Las Vegas Raiders pick number 10 for Max Crosby. Raiders wanted more. Obviously, they end up getting 2 first-round picks from the Baltimore Ravens. I ask you, let's say that the Raiders would have taken pick number 10 for Crosby straight up. Out of all of the options now, Downs, Bain, Dexter, Max, what would you prefer after this pick? Okay. Miami on the clock. Roger Goodell, pick is in. And the Miami Dolphins have selected Caden Proctor, offensive tackle from Alabama. I'm not going to lie, was on the board at 41 in a couple mock drafts I did. Surprising to see him go number 12. But Reid, back to you. Of those options, where do you see?
No, I think I get teased all the time for being the positive spin. If I could have Dexter Lawrence, Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs, or Max Crosby, I'm taking Dexter Lawrence. And I'm saying that grading it on the fact that you can get Boye Mafe, Miles Murphy in a full season. You can get Shamar. Like, all these things are created equal in the fact that we are dealing with, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, the greatest luxury in this sport which is a pass rushing defensive tackle. You can't get that anywhere else. You can tell me, yeah, you can get Max Crosby that can get after the guy. But what are we doing on the interior line? I have way more confidence in a defense that has Dexter Lawrence, Boye Mafe, Miles Murphy, the lot of them, more so than I do a Max Crosby and then B.J. Hill and T.J. Slayton once again. And I like those players. But I just like our defense way more with Dexter Lawrence. So if you're asking me all things are created equal, if I could have one of these rookies or I could have Dexter Lawrence and Max Crosby, I'm still going with Dexter Lawrence. I do like the sentiment of the Bengals. Maybe I'm reading too much in this, kind of acknowledging they have a draft problem and saying, hey, we haven't drafted well in the first round. Let's see if we can use this capital in a different way, which is, can we go get experienced players that have a proven track record? All this is, all money is, all draft picks are capital for your team. How can they make your team better? The Bengals said, well, the capital that we have in draft hasn't been good drafting players last few years. Let's see if we can make our team better with veteran presence, and that's what they did with Dexter Lawrence.
And even if you get a guy like Caleb Downs was available, even if you got him, that doesn't send a message to your locker room. It doesn't send a message to Joe Burrow. It doesn't send a message to your fan base that you're all in. Right? And that's what they got from the Dexter Lawrence deal. So not only is he, in my opinion, a better player right now, but also it's telling the league, it's telling your fan base, it's telling the city, we're here, and we're coming, and we're going all in. That's what they did.
It's a valid point, Reid, because ultimately taking your pick at number 10, yeah, you could probably add an impact player at defense.
More of the same, right?
Well, it's more of the same. It's an unknown, and it's just status quo versus – making a trade for the first time since 1989. The Bengals are not picking in the first round, at least as of right now. That makes more of a statement than just sitting there and making your pick.
No, it certainly is that. Sometimes you have to make a gesture on top of it. Maybe in 5 years, Caleb Downs or Ruben Baines a better player over the 5 years than Dexter Lawrence is. That's a case.
Yep.
And the Bengals could have had them. But certainly sending a message to everyone, sending it not just to here in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the entire fan base, not just sending it to the entire AFC North, you're sending it to the entire league saying, listen, we still like where we're at as a team. It hasn't panned out for the last few years for a myriad of reasons. Bad defense, hurt quarterback, name them, list them. But we still think that we could be viable and a true championship contender. And Dexter Lawrence is that piece that you could say, hey, if we're dealing in December and the Bengals are one of the top teams in the NFL, I can almost guarantee you one of the reasons that we are that is because of Dexter Lawrence. And you can look at it and say, okay, this was a championship caliber move.
All right, I'm going to ask the question. I know the answer, but I've got to ask it anyway.
Yep.
The Bengals, notoriously bad at drafting, in a position with allegedly no blue chip players potentially, ultimately leads them to making this trade. I would assume that that front office is not thinking to themselves, man, we suck at drafting.
Right.
But does that have to be in the back of your mind a little bit about the work that has to be done to potentially draft the right player, develop that player into a potential star, versus just going out and getting the known commodity?
I think so, a little bit. And also, they were doing their mock drafts like the rest of us, too, and they probably didn't think that Caleb Downs would be available or some of these other players would be available, and that's also why they made the move. So I'm not sure it's just because, wow, I think we're going to screw this up. It was fun for us to say that and joke around about it, and maybe there was even some truth to it. But I think in their opinion, they thought they got a heck of a deal, only having to give up the first-round pick for Dexter Lawrence. That's something that I feel like is getting under-discussed, because I remember when the Dexter Lawrence frustration came out and the rumors started to fly, it was like, all right, well, you're definitely going to have to give up your first-round pick, but what else are you going to have to give up in addition to that first-round pick? The answer was nothing. It was just straight Dexter Lawrence for that spot. I understand it was a premium pick. It was number 10 overall, but it's not like you had to give up a third-rounder in a 2027 or another fifth-rounder. You don't have a fifth-rounder, but a sixth-rounder or a seventh-rounder this year. It was literally just the first-round pick for Dexter Lawrence. I think it was a no-brainer decision for him.
I'm just looking at this draft right now, and for some reason, Ruben Bain going to the Los Angeles Rams kind of makes me sick, because it just feels like for some reason that works really, really well. I don't know how he fits to the team and everything like that. I know there's a lot of different ways the Rams could go there, but if Ruben Bain goes to the Rams, doesn't that kind of just scream like, oh, this dude's going to be a tremendous edge rusher for a lot of years. Like, it's just going to work out really well for them, and everyone's going to be looking around and going, how did Ruben Bain drop to 13?
Yeah.
Well, I think the interesting thing for me is with LA with their 3-4 defense compared to a 4-3, how does Ruben Bain fit into a 3-4 compared to a 4-3 as a traditional edge?
Probably doesn't. I'm just speaking out loud here.
Yeah, which is fine, but I mean, the Rams pick is in. We got to have the conversation. I don't know who the pick is. Maybe it's Bain, maybe it's not, but they run a 3-4 right now.
I would say it's probably I don't know, but I would say they would probably go Lemon over Bain, but I don't know.
Can we say something that's even better before this pick gets in?
Sure.
Lemon with Puka and Devontae Adams.
Ruben Bain to Baltimore. Trey Hendrickson doesn't play. He's benched. He's a second stringer for Baltimore week 1. That's awesome.
All right, buddy.
Come on.
Stone, can we just agree to ignore Reid for most of the night?
Fair enough. I've driven around a lot today.
I thought the actual pick was in.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I kind of hope that Bain's going here because to Reid's point, yeah, it'd be frustrating if he went to Los Angeles, but it would be even more frustrating if he went to Baltimore and paired up
his
with
short
Trey
arms, we don't want Ruben Bain. He's going to be a bum. That dude was good. I've been saying that all offseason. No Ruben Bain. Don't check any of the tape of our Chatterbox Bengals shows about who I wanted to take in the draft because Ruben Bain's a bum.
It is interesting. The Rams obviously had a down year in 2025. You look at the draft chart or the depth chart for the Rams, and you look at who's available. There's not really a clear fit for the Rams here. They're a team that hasn't traditionally valued picks, especially in the first round, and yet their pick is in. I'm a little bit surprised they're making their pick, if I'm being honest, period. But we'll see who the pick is once we get to that point. Roger Goodell not yet at the podium, so we'll keep talking about it. But knowing the depth chart, I've got it pulled up if you need it, Stone.
Yeah.
Where are you going at this point if you're the Rams?
I just think they have an infatuation with adding offensive players, and I feel like Mekhi Lemon fits their offense and for what they want to do. He has that build as a running back, and a lot of people compare him to Puka Nacua. He's obviously not that big, but he's incredibly talented. Won the Biletnikoff at USC, obviously. But also the kid Cooper from Indiana, I think, is a better prospect. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went receiver.
Last chance, Reid. Who's the pick?
Ty Simpson.
Ty
Simpson! Pulled that one out.
Ty Simpson.
That's elite.
Literally just because the broadcast kept
Alabama.
showing Ty Simpson. That's the only way I went for it. Man, that's surprising. And doesn't that breathe new life? Because I think if he went to a team that didn't have a great offensive presence, like let's say he goes to who's a tone-deaf offensive team. Like if they went to the Steelers, you'd go like, oh, great pick, right? You just, like it'd be in one ear, out the other. But the fact that he's going to Sean McVay, doesn't that kind of breathe a new bit of confidence into him as a player? I'll let the Alabama fan talk here in a second.
Before I let the Alabama fan talk, let's just talk about it in general. Stone, you and I were talking about it before we went live tonight. Ty Simpson, minus 400 to go in the first round. We both thought it might be someone like Arizona trading back into the first round to be able to get them. 13 to the Rams. Not only am I surprised that he went 13th overall, but I'm surprised that he went to the Rams. I'll let you go as an Alabama fan now. Your thoughts on Ty Simpson as a prospect and fit with the Rams.
We don't need to tell everybody that.
What do you mean? Like, everyone knows.
Because of you, not because of me. But anyway, Ty Simpson, I think he is going to be a good NFL player. I think he was a very good NFL prospect. If you watched Alabama at all, I think you would agree with that. Because that Alabama team last year, that was not a Nick Saban Alabama team. There was holes all over that roster. And the fact that he was able to go through that gauntlet of a schedule, win as many games as he did with Kalen DeBoer, with as bad as that defense was and with as bad as that offensive line was, he was asked to do so much, and nobody got hit in college football more than Ty Simpson. And also you couple that in with the fact that his dad is a coach. He comes from football. He breathes football. Is this a little excessive at this stage of the draft? Yes, but my reason for saying that is just because I believe Matthew Stafford has more than just 1 or 2 years left. I think Matthew Stafford could be slinging that thing for maybe 4 years, which if that's the truth, Ty Simpson, that expires his rookie deal. So, they needed to think about quarterback going forward, but I still think Matthew Stafford has a lot left in the tank, and his performance in the NFC Championship game against Seattle doesn't get talked about because they lost, obviously. But he, at the peak of his powers, or when he's just playing his best now, I think is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think it's close.
This is good for the Bengals. What's the rumor that's been talked
Burrow,
about for
yes.
Joe Burrow to the Rams now for years? Now that's gone, right? I mean, unless Ty Simpson goes out there and he's just a DOA. But, like, the Joe Burrow to the Rams rumor, officially dead. Call it dead. It's gone. We can still deal with it elsewhere, but at least him going to Sean McVay and the Rams no longer makes sense.
The big question, of course, Matthew Stafford. He's in the last year of his contract going into 2026. 38 years old. A lot of conversations about what's next for Stafford. Does this tell you that, hey, Stafford already went to the Rams and said, this is my last year. I hope we win the Super Bowl and I can go out on top, but this is it? Does this say the Rams maybe don't believe in Stafford long term? Does this just say, hey, we really want to have our quarterback of the future and we want him to learn from one of the best to ever do it in Matt Stafford? What's your take on the overall pick for Ty Simpson to the Rams?
Well, I mean, if you're Ty Simpson, you're over the moon right now. Not just because you got picked in the NFL draft in the first round, your dreams are coming true, but you get to sit behind Matthew Stafford and you get to play for Sean McVay, who a lot of people consider to be the smartest offensive mind in all of football, and you get to go to a winning team, right? It's not like he's going to be a backup and watch the team stink. He's going to be on a team that a lot of people are going to pick to win the Super Bowl there as well. So if you're Ty Simpson, you're ecstatic about it, but if you're Matthew Stafford, you're probably sitting there going, we are so close. In fact, we can win a Super Bowl right now, and we have an opportunity to get a defensive player, get an offensive lineman, get a skill guy to add to our team to help me out and win, and instead you're looking for my replacement. If you're Stafford, you got to be pretty ticked off.
That's a real conversation to be had. A team that struggled in 2025 compared to expectations. Now they go out and they draft a player who realistically shouldn't see the field in 2026. It's a little bit different than most teams' draft strategy if you're expecting to win and compete for a Super Bowl.
Well, I think the Rams, it's pretty clear the Rams view the draft a lot differently than other teams, at least the first round, because they very rarely draft in the first round. So, I mean, people will talk about 3D chess. Maybe they're playing 3D chess over there in L.A. with this whole thing. But, no, Matthew Stafford is aware of his own mortality, right? Like, he's aware that his time, even if Stone is correct, 3-4 years left in the tank, he's aware that the time is coming soon. And they've got to do something. And to be a rational franchise, you've got to be able to do something.
All right, division rival Baltimore Ravens pick is in. Roger Goodell at the podium.
Okay.
Man, Ruben Bain keeps dropping.
Stone, I don't even know how to say that name. Oliva Vega.
I think a lot of people viewed him as clearly the best interior offensive lineman, probably a good pick for Baltimore. The reason I was clapping was just because I didn't want to have to see Ruben Bain along with Trey Hendrickson twice a year with Joe Burrow back there at quarterback.
You wouldn't see Trey Hendrickson because he'd be in contract disputes.
That's true.
During the
Has
game.
he requested a trade yet?
It's a good question.
Okay.
It's a good question. Sending vague messages on his Instagram going down to Florida. Guys, I'm so happy that's done. That era
goodness.
of our fandom is done.
Oliva Vega Ione. Did I say that right? I don't know.
Who are you asking? You're asking Stone. Does Stone look like he's well-equipped to answer that question?
More so than you.
Probably.
Who am I going to ask? Can't ask. Hey, chat, how do you say it? Who knows? I think I'm pretty close. Oliva Vega Ione. Guard from Penn State is the pick for the Ravens. Look, they've got Derrick Henry in the backfield already. Add some protection for Lamar Jackson, who had to run and scramble a ton last year. Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense for them to bulk up the offensive line.
Yeah, I think the reason why you're seeing Ruben Bain slide, obviously the report came out about, him being behind the wheel in a tragic accident, but you couple that with the fact that he has historically short arms. Like we talk about, I think a lot gets made of, this guy can run this fast. These are his measurables. But nobody in the history of the NFL that was a really good player had the arm length that he had, and I think ultimately that's the reason he's sliding.
Wow. All right, let's go back to Bengals talk. I want to talk about 41.
Yeah.
Right? We're about halfway through the first round now. Starting to see a little bit at least. of how things are going.
Ooh.
There's a lot that can happen in the next
RoboBuck says, what if Bain falls all the way to 41?
What if Bain falls to like 25? Do the Bengals look to move back into the first for a talent like Ruben Bain to add to that defensive line that they're clearly prioritizing?
I think that's – while that sounds good on paper, I think what we've seen from the last few years is that they prioritize measurables over production, and Ruben Bain falls more in the production. And while that looks great on us, like guys like, me and Craig, we're not sitting down and watching 14 hours of college football on a Saturday. We do sit down and we watch the college football playoff. And who jumps off the screen? Who jumped off the screen? Ruben Bain did. That's a player who sits with you because of how great he was. And while that sounds great, I think that's something that the Bengals kind of steer away from.
I do think it's interesting because maybe not that particular player, but to Reid's points, I was going to save this for a little bit later, but if Jermod McCoy, I wouldn't consider it a slide right now where we're at in the draft, but if Jermod McCoy is available at 25, is the old Dukester picking up the phone perhaps to try to get back at the back end of the first for a corner like Jermod McCoy perhaps?
Long story short, we are in for a long night as Cincinnati Bengals fans. I'll throw another scenario at you two.
I love scenarios.
Obviously, 41 is a long way away. Joe Goodberry, you had on the show just this past week. Dylan Thieneman is one of his top players in this entire draft. Is he a player that you're moving up from 41 for, or are you sitting pretty at 41?
I like Dylan Thieneman a lot. I would expect him to go here within the next, 5 to 10. He's going to his name will get called tonight. But after the additions of not only Brian Cook, but you also added Kyle Duggar, who's only a one-year guy, but I don't see Cincinnati making that move. But I think Thieneman's going to go here within several picks and go in the first round and be a really good player.
All right, so let me throw out some other names that have been potentially linked to the Bengals. Obviously, Bain, we've talked about. Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, is someone that I know some Bengals fans are really high on. Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle from Georgia. Jermod McCoy, still there. Akeem Mesidor, the edge from Miami. Dylan Thieneman. You throw out names like Keldrick Falk, who many projected to the Bengals at 10 at one point. There's a lot of names. I'm going to throw out one more. Peter Woods is a name that was linked to the Bengals for a long time as well. We got Ackley here in the front row rocking his Clemson shirt.
He's doing that in support of Deshaun Watson.
I think there's a lot of conversations here, right? First of all, which players are worthy of moving up for?
Yep.
That's great. The second piece of which players are you hoping fall to 41? Because those are two different conversations of, hey, if this guy's here at 41, I'm running to the podium. And, hey, if this guy's here at 26, I'm calling him up.
Yeah. I think the Bengals probably are fine staying there because they're thinking about taking a corner or a linebacker there. I think in the Bengals' mind, the only guy they would move up for is McCoy.
What are the chances the Bengals are even together tonight? What are the chances that they're even in the same room, or do they did Duke Tobin give everyone the night off?
We see Mel's best available now. Mekhi Lemon from USC, Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle from Georgia, Kenyon Sadiq, Ruben Bain, number 4 on Mel's best available.
Wow.
Dylan Thieneman, number 5. I can say that I know at least some Bengals personnel are at Paul Brown Stadium. They're still having their draft party tonight. So it's not like they're not there at all.
Security guards making sure no one breaks in. That was about it.
There's video out there, Sexy Dexy doing the first Sexy Dexy as a Bengal, so we love that. Did that at the draft party.
Okay. Well, at least that we have Sexy Dexy there manning the phone, calling up some people, seeing if we can trade again.
All right, the pick is in at 15. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock. We'll see where they go here. This draft has gone probably a little bit differently than maybe the Buccaneers had thought. Given them some options at 15, where do they go? Roger Goodell at the podium. Ruben Bain, the pick for the Buccaneers. He does stay in Florida, but not with the Dolphins. Stone, we've talked about him a number of times tonight, obviously. Ruben Bain, one of those guys that you're really high on.
Well, if his arms are, couple inches longer and he doesn't have that issue off the field, I think he would have been a lock to go in the top 10. But some things happen, and that caused you to slide. And I think it was probably the arm length over the incident in the car that caused this slide a little bit. But Tampa Bay is probably feeling like they got the steal of the draft.
I always wonder how that stuff comes out, because the story comes out, all the NFL teams were available. Is it a job, as they say, from some teams that want him to slide, to be like, hey, get this out. We are going to ruin this kid's life for a couple weeks in hopes that he comes to our team in the first round of the draft. He drops 6 slots in the draft. I've always wondered that, as now the Jets pick is in. I do got to order. We got to try some Smoke Justis wings here. So I heard there's smoked wings, so I'll get us some smoked wings here to try live on air. So I'll go do that. I'll step aside and talk to the bartender, Alex.
Go talk to Alex and get an order in.
Yes, please.
It's been great. You want to give me a glass of water while you're at it?
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. All right, Stone, I'm trying to scroll through Twitter and get some reaction and some thoughts. And I think the overwhelming thoughts right now, at least on social media, is that, look, yeah, maybe the draft didn't go as many people thought it might. But again, you got a preeminent defensive tackle, an immediate impact at number 10. It just happens to be Dexter Lawrence instead of one of the prospects that we've been talking about. If you're the Bengals front office, we talked about it. Reid said, are they even at the stadium? What are they doing tonight? Who knows? They're probably there tracking everything. What's going through your mind as this draft is playing out and we're seeing more and more go down?
Yeah, I think you can take a deep breath a little bit if you're the Bengals. Again, there wasn't going to be something that transpired where I said, oh, my goodness, they made a huge mistake here with Dexter Lawrence. But we saw Sonny Styles slide a little bit. He went 7 to Washington. If he had been available at 10, I think we sit down and have the conversation of, well, you know what, you could have got Sonny Styles at 10. Maybe that would have saved you out. Obviously, it would have been a lot cheaper than Dexter Lawrence. But I think the Bengals are very comfortable with how things have played out. 1 to 10, certainly. And now I do think, we can joke about them, having a party and not paying attention. I think they're tapped in to what's going on right now, and I think they've got their eye on Jermod McCoy. They feel comfortable at 41 that they can get probably a backer that can come in and help this team. But I'm sure there's a couple players on their board. You mentioned Kenyon Sadiq, who I don't have interest in just because he's a tight end. But there's a couple players, Jermod McCoy we mentioned, dare I say even Peter Woods, who you've also mentioned, where it's like, well, if this guy can slide a little bit into the 20s, maybe we'll pick up the phone and just see what's going on and see what would be necessary in order for us to get back into the first round. So at the end of the day, I still would be surprised if they did it. But based on how the draft has worked out to this point, I would say there is a greater chance of it happening than I would have at 8 o'clock when the draft began.
We still know that there are holes on this defense, of course, specifically linebacker, cornerback, of course. Who's still on the board outside of Jermod McCoy in those two positions specifically that intrigue you potentially at 41? Because I'm looking at some of the names out there. Anthony Hill, C.J. Allen, Jacob Rodriguez is a name that's been thrown around a lot. Jake Galde from Cincinnati is still a name that is expected to be there around 41, if not later in the third. Cornerback on the other side, at least to the layman, not a ton of real high-end draft choices that are still sitting there in terms of potential, right? So if the Bengals are high on McCoy and they view cornerback as a high priority, they almost have to try to do what they can to get McCoy if they firmly believe that cornerback is a position of need.
Sure, and, we talked about maybe him sliding to 41. I would be shocked, but then again, we've been shocked several times already tonight. I do think they've got an eye on Keontae Scott from Miami, and I do think they have their eye on Malik Muhammad as well out of Texas as potentially a guy that could come in and be a starter for them. And also of note, it'll be interesting to see whether or not when they ultimately take a corner, if it'll be a guy that comes in and can play that nickel spot. You got Jalen Davis, who a lot of us like, as Kenyon Sadiq goes to the New York Jets at number 16 overall, or if they will be comfortable going with the boundary player and potentially asking Dax Hill to bump back inside. But if they take a corner at 41, I feel like they will be looking for that particular player to get a lot of snaps and be basically a starter for them.
It's interesting, the pick here. I just want to touch on it really quickly. Kenyon Sadiq going to the New York Jets. This is a Jets team that, if I'm remembering correctly, spent draft capital at the tight end position last year with Mason Taylor. So now they're investing in having a 2 tight end room that, both high draft picks. If I remember correctly, Mason Taylor last year got drafted in the 2nd round, pick number 42 overall. Now they go pick number 1. Kenyon Sadiq's a good talent. There's a lot of people that aren't shocked that he's going in the 1st round. But to go to the Jets, a team that already drafted Mason Taylor last year, Mason Taylor had a good year, a little surprising for me.
Yeah, I think, Reid was getting on me a little bit earlier for my comments on the Cardinals, but the Jets, what could they have done in this spot? The Jets are in serious trouble. They're rolling out Geno Smith as their starting quarterback this year, and probably in their eyes, they're like, well, maybe we can take Ty Simpson at 16. Well, Les Snead, Sean McVay, and the Rams put a stop to that. So, yeah, I agree. Taking a tight end this early, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense, but obviously they have a lot of picks here to work with.
Reid. How we doing? Your mic sounds like it's off.
It's off.
You want to join us back on the show?
Sorry, I'm locked in. Kenyon Sadiq drafted to the Jets. It is crazy that the Jets just continue to circle the toilet bowl of the NFL. I don't know what else to say. And I made the joke earlier that you watch the draft, you sit down, and you spend 3 hours watching the 1st round of the draft every single year. And it's the same teams picking in the top 10 spots, and it's the same teams that keep you scratching your head. And that, the Bengals aren't a team that draft in the top 10 a whole lot, but part of the reason that people talk down about the Bengals is because we draft guys like Shamar Stewart, because we draft guys like Marius Mims, who's turned out to be a pretty good player, but, had played less than 10 games, played around 10 games. Thanks, guys, for coming. It's just funny how these teams can't seem to get out of their own way. And also, I do have some smoked wings coming here in a few minutes. So
we love that. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard good things about the wings here at Smoke Justis.
Yeah, you got to do justice to the smoke.
Of course. The Jets earlier, of course, took David Bailey at 2 overall. You'd think emphasis on the defense, of course. Joseph Osai signing there this offseason as well. Moves him down the draft, the depth chart a little bit. We can leave that one if we want to leave that one. But look, Geno Smith is not expected to be the long-term solution there. I'm interested, Stone, in your take on just the quarterback class here in 2026 in terms of this draft. Obviously, we saw 2 go off the board already. The remaining picks, a lot of questions, right? The next 3 in terms of consensus, Garrett Nussmeier. We heard that maybe his injury wasn't back-related. We heard that this week. Carson Beck, he's, 28 years old at this point. He's old. Drew Allar had a down year at Penn State this year. If you're the Jets, what is your answer? Are you just punting until 2027?
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. You're rolling in with Geno, and you're like, well, we'll see if we can't win a couple of games, sell some tickets, but try to get Arch Manning next year because they're going nowhere fast if you're talking about the New York Jets. But specifically about the quarterbacks this year, and I think maybe that's why you saw Los Angeles get a little bit aggressive with a guy they like in Ty Simpson. I mean, the next guy is Garrett Nussmeier, who had high expectations coming into his final year at LSU, but had the injuries. His coach gets fired in the middle of the year. He's getting benched against Alabama. It was just a complete disaster for him at the end. So another quarterback is not getting called tonight, and I would be surprised, honestly, if you saw one go in round 2 to begin the draft tomorrow night. Taylon Green out of Arkansas is interesting because a lot of people think he has some upside, could potentially be a diamond-in-the-rough type guy. But nobody that is getting drafted at the quarterback position is going to be looked at as the future of a franchise.
The Detroit Lions on the board now, on the clock now, a team obviously that had high expectations in 2025, didn't live up to those expectations, and now they pick at 17. Reid, what are you thinking for the Detroit Lions?
Well, I don't know where they're going to go tonight, but the Detroit Lions have done a great job over recent years. And the reason I say that, obviously the players have panned out. They've done exactly what I always preach against, and they have gone after positions that typically aren't high valued. Where when you're drafting in these mid-rounds, and this is what I've said when the Bengals drafted in these mid-rounds, instead of taking the 3rd or the 4th edge rusher or the 3rd or the 4th tackle or the 3rd quarterback, what the Lions were doing for a while is they were taking the best linebacker. They were taking the best running back. They were taking positions that you knew I was getting the best guy in the draft at this position. Now, obviously, all those spots are pretty much taken up at this far. But the Lions have done a really nice job at zigging when everyone else has been zagging in recent years. So I'm intrigued to see where they go.
It's an interesting pick, Stone, and I want to get your kind of take on it here. You look at the Detroit Lions and their team. Likely don't need wide receiver, right? You're pretty high on Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Isaac Tesla, all pretty solid. So you're probably not going lemon here. Maybe offensive tackle would make sense. Monroe Freeling makes sense here?
Potentially. The Lions, of course, have gone BPA in the past. Thieneman, the safety available, but you have Kirby Joseph and, of course, Brian Branch as well. Let's find out here.
We have a Make-A-Wish kid that is going to announce this first-round pick. Roger Goodell introducing him now before the Lions officially make their first-round pick. I think I'm going to go with my official pick to be Freeling.
You like a lineman
Maybe
here?
Mesidor. Those are the two that stand out to me, is Mesidor or Freeling.
Thieneman makes sense based off the way they've drafted the last few years.
Here we go. The pick for the Detroit Lions is in.
Wow.
Okay, Blake Miller. Ackley. What?
Got their guy. Go and get your guy.
Blake Miller, the offensive tackle from Clemson. And look, I'm not saying that it's perfect. I know it's not. But I'm looking here on ESPN's top players available. I'm on page 2, and I don't see Blake Miller yet. How far down do I have to go to find Blake Miller?
52.
52.
Yep.
Several players ahead of him. And
eighth overall tackle.
On ESPN?
That's what I'm looking at.
Wow. All right, Stone, Blake Miller.
We've seen some surprising things obviously happen in the draft to this point, but this is the first nobody thought this guy was going in the first round. Nobody was talking about this guy as a potential target. And when you get to this spot in the round, when you're at 17 overall, and we've talked about it at length, not necessarily a strong draft, you're in a position where you can take some swings. And if there's a guy that you fall in love with, clearly they like Blake Miller. Probably a high-character guy playing for Dabo Swinney at Clemson. They said, you know what, we're going to go get our guy. But, yeah, looking at all the offensive linemen that were ranked from ESPN and other sources, he definitely was not the next highest-rated offensive lineman.
Yeah, Reid mentioned it, the 8th-ranked offensive tackle, 52 overall. Maybe the first, shock, right? You talk about Cole Strange a couple of years ago, and there's that famous clip of the Rams who were doing a press conference, and they look up and Cole Strange gets drafted in the first round, and they were watching his video thinking he might be there in the 4th. The Vikings pick is in now. We'll see where Minnesota goes. Caleb Banks. Look, another name that was linked to the Bengals at several times. Defensive tackle, a position that not often highly ranked in terms of the draft. Your thoughts on Caleb Banks?
I think this is our first instance of a team saying, hey, we need an interior defensive lineman, and there's no interior defensive lineman in this draft. Let's just roll the dice with one of the top guys, and clearly it was between Peter Woods and this guy, Caleb Banks. He's played good football previously for Florida, has the injury issues. I think he might even be hurt right now, but a position of need for him, and they're rolling the dice. And they can do that when you're picking late into the teens.
Yeah, no, that's where you're at when you're picking this late in the draft is – You're going to have to make some concessions at some point.
Yep.
You can say BPA all you want, but when your team needs certain players, you have to go after them, and sometimes you got to make a concession and you go, okay, well, we need an interior defensive lineman. Who are we going to go? Which of these two guys do we like more? All right, we'll take Caleb Banks.
All right, let's bring this back to the Bengals. Obviously, the Vikings go and they pick defensive tackle. Part of that, potentially, because the Bengals go out and sign Jonathan Allen this offseason to come in and be a defensive tackle for them, opened up a spot for the Vikings. Let's talk about Allen in what he's going to be bringing to the Bengals because we haven't really talked about him
Right.
tonight.
Yeah. I was super excited when the Bengals were able to acquire him. If you remember back to the start of free agency, the Bengals were active initially. It's like, oh, they got Brian Cook, let's go. And then Duke Tobin seemingly fell asleep at the wheel a little bit. We didn't see many moves as the week progressed. And then, boom, kind of out of nowhere, they made the 2 moves early in the week and then kind of stopped. And then it's like, all right, here's Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen's a guy that I'm really high on. I don't think it was necessarily the best scheme fit for Brian Flores in Minnesota, but he's a guy that I still view has good football ahead of him. He's a big body there on the interior. He's going to bring a veteran presence, obviously, to the defense. And this is something I've talked with Reid a lot about. You got B.J. Hill and T.J. Slade. We'll see if T.J. Slade is still ultimately on the team.
Yeah.
Those guys in a different role can be really good football players, but when you're asking them to be your 2 best interior defensive linemen, it doesn't look so great. So when you add Jonathan Allen into the equation with a relatively team-friendly deal, he's not cheap, but he's not Dexter Lawrence expensive, I think you're in a position to have success there.
All right, guys, I think we got to do it.
Let's do it.
I think we got to do it. We got to try the Smoke Justis Smoke Wings. I got ranch and medium sauce. I should have gotten some plates, but we got napkins.
Yep.
We'll make do. We'll make do. So, I mean, we're not going to do the full. I'm going to pull up my mic so you don't hear me eat. But, yeah, we're going to try.
This is as a quick reminder, of course, we're here at Smoke Justis in Covington, Kentucky, located in the historic Citizens Telephone Building. Smoke Justis is an urban sports bar named after an urban legend, Walter Smoke Justis. This unique blend of casual and lounge space has created a vibe for everyone. Smooth bourbon. We're looking at the shelves here, Reid. An unbelievable selection of alcohol and, of course, smoked meats.
Oh, yeah, you can spend a lot of time here. I got to tell you guys, don't even need the sauce. That's how good they are. Amazing. I'm not being hyperbolic here, but like a true 9 out of 10. Like, really good. I got to see what Stone says.
Stone's
first.
taking his bite now.
The fries were also good. We got some shoestring fries. Got to love these. Naturally cut. Thoughts. Immediate thought.
Here's the thing with wings, Reader. Similar to pizza. All I got to do to know if it's going to be good or not, all I got to do is look at it. And when our great waitress brought these over, I knew. When Alex brought these over, I knew they were going to be good, and they are very, very good. Key to a wing, you got to have some meat on there. I don't want them overcooked. I don't want them to lack meat. Perfect amount of meat. The seasoning's great. To your point, I don't even need the medium sauce. I don't even need the ranch, to be honest with you. I can just eat the chicken there by itself. Great seasoning, great meat. I'm a thigh guy as opposed to a drumstick guy.
Yeah, I was going to wonder, are you a wing or are you a drumstick?
Yeah, I'm a wing, but I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way and say flats only, right? But I definitely prefer the flats. But this is a great chicken wing, no doubt.
I will admit that I am a drum guy, and I realize that is not the popular. Like, I am the contrarian by that, and I don't see why. I will admit that is a block in my conscience. Here, Craig, thoughts on the wing?
It's a solid wing. First of all,
It's good.
Immediately you get the tenderness, right? Falls right off the bone. You don't have to worry about fighting with the wing like you do sometimes. You get those low-quality wings, and you got to fight the meat off the bone.
Oh, yeah.
Not with these. Comes right off. Smoked to perfection. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, brother.
Comes right off the bone. You get that slight smokiness, right? It's not overly powerful with the smoke, but you've got that nice hint of smoke on the background to give you that extra depth of flavor. And, of course, I went 2 bites. I went 1 bite plain, 1 bite the sauce.
How was the sauce?
Both excellent.
I have not had the sauce yet.
I like spice, right? So, for me, having that spice is really nice. And, of course, the shoestrings fries always hit the spot. A little salt on there. Good stuff. All right, pick is in. The Carolina Panthers adding to their offensive line. They add, Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle from Georgia. I don't mean to pull you guys away from the food, but
no, it's good.
Your thoughts on Monroe Freeling?
I'll handle this one. Monroe Freeling. He's going to be a great tackle in this league. What a great pick by Carolina. Every time that I watched him this year, I was saying this guy's going to be a great pro. This is really the steal of the draft, Craig. Now, Stone, you're up.
Yeah, so I think, like to your point, Craig, we expected him to be the next tackle off the board, and I'm sure that Carolina's sitting here going, what in the world are these guys doing taking the kid out of Clemson? We'll happily take Monroe Freeling. So when you get to this stage of the draft, there's obviously some offensive tackles that are still on the board. We saw the two go relatively early, but I think these teams understand in the back of their head that if you're looking to get a franchise changing tackle that could potentially start for you, that's not going to happen in the 4th or 5th round. You got to be aggressive here early on and try to catch lightning in a bottle, and that's what Carolina feels like they're doing here.
Can I say that it seems like it's an absurd amount of first-round picks that aren't in attendance, and that is just a true testament to the city of Pittsburgh. What a dump that place is.
It's one of the lowest in a long time. I think I saw the list. It was like less than 15. And we do have some complexity here, Reid. The Dallas Cowboys were slotted to select here in the trade. Micah Parsons, they get the pick from Green Bay. Now they move it to Philadelphia. Opens up the trade for A.J. Brown. They draft Mekhi Lemon to go along with Devonta Smith. Seems to me at least like a clear indicator A.J. Brown not going to be an Eagle in 2026.
Yeah, the writing's on the wall there. It looks like he is headed to New England. But how many times have we sat here with Howie Roseman and been like, how in the world has this guy fallen into his lap? We've seen it with several Georgia superstars there as well. And we were talking about Mekhi Lemon potentially going 13 to Los Angeles. They obviously took the quarterback there instead. But it feels like a steal to get the Biletnikoff winner at 20.
Well, that's just the testament of when you're drafting best player available, that happens, right? Like if you do that enough, you'll be looking around and be like, oh, man, how does this guy drop again? When you just consistently get the guy that falls down, and then you just take the best player available, more often than not, you're going to look up and be like, wait, how did they fall to Philadelphia once again? When you're drafting like that, that's why there's so many people that spend their whole time, spend all year talking about the draft, talking about college prospects. They go, get the best player, get the best talent, get good players to your team, and eventually your team will all fall into place.
Now Pittsburgh is up here at 21, so this place is about to go nuts. Let's take a look at some of the best players available here for the Steelers. Obviously, they got issues all over the place. They don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. If the season started tomorrow, they'd be rolling Bill Howard out there at quarterback, and he, of course, was a 6th-round pick, so they've got a lot of issues to address. And Mel Kiper has his best player available, being Jermon McCoy, and we find ourselves starting to get into the 20s a little bit here, and I'm starting to think the wheels are starting to spin in my head about a potential call-in from Duke Tobin saying, hey, how are the fellas doing? Where are we at? Trying to get into the 20s here and potentially take a corner.
You take a look at the Steelers draft or the Steelers depth chart, and of course you mentioned it. You don't know what they're doing at quarterback. Do they have faith in Will Howard? Mason Rudolph currently slotted to be their starting quarterback. Obviously, they're waiting still to hear from Aaron Rodgers. What will he do? There's a lot of questions on this Pittsburgh Steelers team. What do? Will they pair a defensive end to go with T.J. Watt? Will they add to their linebacking room that right now is focused on Patrick Queen and Malik Harrison and Alex Highsmith, obviously a high-quality player? Will they add a cornerback to go opposite of Joey Porter? Jamel Dean right now, they went out and signed this offseason. That's a big signing for them. Maybe they feel good about their cornerback room with Porter, Dean, and Asante Samuel Jr. Do they try to trade out of the spot? We're a minute on the board, and the pick isn't in yet. You got to think they're on the phones.
I kind of think Omar Cooper out of Indiana. You're getting McCarthy in, offensive-minded guy. The issue for Pittsburgh was not Aaron Rodgers. I thought Aaron Rodgers, for being 42 years of age, played really solid football for them, but he didn't have guys that could really win one-on-one on the outside, with the exception, of course, from DK Metcalf. But I think adding a weapon is something they are interested in, and there's two guys, Denzel Boston and Omar Cooper, that could potentially be good players in the NFL.
Of course, the Steelers did add Michael Pittman Jr. this offseason to their wide receiver room to go with DK Metcalf. But other than that, Roman Wilson certainly hasn't lived up to expectations. Ben Skoranek, I mean, their wide receiver room is really two people right now. So that may make sense for them. Broderick Jones, their left tackle, could certainly be upgraded. Troy Fontenot. There's definitely some potential holes on the offensive line. They just spent that first-round pick last year, or 2 years ago, on Fontenot. So Hard to imagine they move off of that. Zach Frazier, their center, was a pick in 2024, their second-round pick. They've invested on that offensive line to try and protect their quarterback. But at the end of the day, they may need to take another stab there to add to it. But here it is. The Steelers' pick is officially in. We await now the announcement from the commissioner as the Pittsburgh Steelers are making their pick. Fans, of course, going wild.
I mean, okay, I'm on board. As terrible as this looks in the city of Pittsburgh, wouldn't this be pretty cool? Here in Cincinnati, with the 32nd overall pick, we finish out the draft, right?
Yeah.
We finish it out. They go, hometown team, where we keep it going. We get loud, rowdy. Stone standing on top of Craig's shoulders with his shirt off, waving it around. And he just gets fired up about whatever pick we took that played 12 snaps in college, but he's 6'6" and ran in a 2.490.
Absolutely. You're there after winning the Super Bowl in 2026.
That's right.
You're there with the 32nd pick. The commissioner steps up in front of the crowd. The 32nd pick for your Cincinnati Bengals, the reigning Super Bowl champions. That'd be pretty impressive. I gotta say, though,
are the Sticks from Pittsburgh?
Who cares? I
Is
gotta
that why
say,
Renegade is their song?
Yeah, it must
Someone
be.
let me know.
What's kind of embarrassing to me is you look here at the crowd. Yeah, there's some terrible towels in the back.
They're terrible.
There's not really that many terrible towels there
No.
for being in your hometown. To have that many terrible towels, that's not nearly enough. If this draft was in Cincinnati, how much orange and black would be descending on the riverbanks?
We would line it up. We would actually have stripes in the crowd. we would stripe up the river, and then on top of that, we wouldn't like their food, right, in Pittsburgh. We have actual food here.
They're probably taking these French fries and putting them on their
Cincinnati
sandwiches.
chili. We have Smoke Justis. Yeah, they're just taking French fries and putting what is that? Like you eat like a 12-year-old. Like you just put French fries on your sandwich. What a terrible city Pittsburgh is.
And yet here I am wondering what they're going to pick here with their pick. They're doing some sort of stupid Renegade song.
Yeah,
As
tell me, are the Sticks from Pittsburgh?
Can
Like,
we
I don't
just
get
get it over with? Like, we talk about it every year about how, oh my God, the pick's been in for 27 minutes and we're still sitting here waiting for the pick, and yet the NFL has the audacity to play Renegade and make us wait an extra 5 minutes on top just so they can play their stupid song.
Please don't tell me Big Ben's going to go out again. They don't. Two's oftentimes what has got Big Ben in trouble.
And let me tell you, I know I hate Big Ben. I don't know if there's another Steeler I hate more than the bust Jerome Bettis.
Oh, man.
The memories of my childhood as a season ticket holder of the Bengals, sitting there watching Jerome Bettis do a stupid grapevine dance after he runs for 15 yards every time he touches the ball. Hate Jerome Bettis.
Can you imagine Jerome Bettis meeting Geno Stone in the A-gap?
Oh, Geno Stone wouldn't have any contact there.
In
He'd be out of the way. Geno
Oklahoma
Stone
drill.
would be running the other way. Here's the pick for the Steelers. Jerome Bettis making the announcement here at 21 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe. He's giving an inspirational speech to some high school football players. Just what everybody wanted to hear.
What did he achieve? Nothing. Like this is going in one ear and out the
All
other.
right, here we go. The pick is in. With 21 overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Max Ehanichur, offensive tackle, Arizona State. Stone, I'm going to turn to you. I don't know if I'm expecting you to know a whole lot about this. Max Ehanichur goes number 21 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was the 41 overall ranked player, sixth best offensive tackle, 6'5", 321 pounds.
That is objectively hilarious that it's like, oh, we're in Pittsburgh. Let's get rowdy. Let's get crazy. We're about to make some pick that transcends the future of our franchise. And they take some guy that, yeah, I've heard of him, but who is he? I don't know. So, yeah, they're just rolling the dice here on a tackle. I wonder where Aaron Rodgers is at. What activities he's taking part in tonight.
He's probably not watching this. He's just like in a hole somewhere.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. That doesn't faze me at all as somebody that supports the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think that is a AFC North altering selection there for Pittsburgh.
It's that is the one thing about the AFC North. Obviously, I think the AFC North is one of the better divisions in football. Two of the teams, their draft picks do not faze me at all. Like, when was the last time a Pittsburgh Steelers draft has like, oh, man, the Steelers got him? Never. Kenny Pickett, who cares? Whoever they just drafted, who cares? And then the Browns, they pick good players, but it doesn't matter. Like, you're just like, yeah, you can keep getting good players, but it doesn't matter in the long end. The only team you really worry about is the Baltimore Ravens.
It does speak a little bit to Mike McCarthy's plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Obviously, we know that Mike McCarthy, an offensive-minded coach, is going to lean offense. But he goes out and he drafts the offensive lineman with the second fastest 40-yard dash at the combine, trying to get more athletic at that position. 6'5" is certainly tall, but 321 at 6'5", not overly, like, you're not looking at him and thinking, oh, my God, that dude's giant, like some of the other players that we've seen. Your thoughts on just what this means for Mike McCarthy's plans for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, I think they definitely were going to go after offense, right? They're allocating a lot of resources and a lot of money to the defensive side of the football. And with Tomlin going out, McCarthy coming in, they got to revamp that offense, and they got to get some more protection for wherever the quarterback is going to be. So I speculated that they perhaps could take Cooper, the wide receiver, out of Indiana, but clearly they feel offensive line is more valuable here, and that has become a theme. I mean, if you look at some of these previous picks going back to the Lions at 17, it's been offensive tackle, offensive tackle, wide receiver, and then another offensive tackle. So the OTs are kind of flying off the board here.
Shamar Stewart's going to eat. He's going to eat for years to come.
The run at offensive tackles is in full force, and that gives us a great opportunity to remind you that Chatterbox Bengals and Cincinnati legend Anthony Munoz are partnered up on Anthony Munoz's new venture. We are fired up. We got a tweet earlier showing us that other people have bought in. But Cincinnati legend Anthony Munoz and his new venture, 78 Cigars, a premium cigar line from the Hall of Famer himself. If you love great cigars and Cincinnati football history, this is a perfect combination. You can grab 78 cigars right now at both Montgomery Inn locations or over at Creekside Cigar Company. You can also check them out online. Just head to anthonymunoz.com. Click on the 78 Cigars page at the top navigation to learn more or place your order today. That's 78 cigars from the greatest offensive lineman to ever do it, Anthony Munoz. Notice how I said Anthony Munoz and not Max Ahinachor. All right, the pick is in for the Los Angeles Chargers. Akeem Mesidor. Talked about him a couple times as another potential dark horse for the Bengals at 41. He doesn't get there. He goes to the Chargers at 22. Stone, your thoughts on Mesidor?
Yeah, it feels like a hardball pick, right? He wants a nitty-gritty guy that's physical and violent and can be a disruptor, and I think that's exactly what Mesidor could do. If he was Reuben Bain's age, I think you would have seen him go earlier in this draft, but he's played a lot of football. These days in the NFL, some teams tend to shy away from that a little bit. Maybe he's slightly undersized at 6'3", 259 pounds, but to Reid's point, he played really good football, and he did it in front of the world as well throughout the college football playoffs, so this feels like a nice pick for Los Angeles.
It's going to be interesting who Dallas goes with here at 23. Because their defense was in as bad of a shape as the Bengals was. And there are a couple defensive players that you could squint your eyes and go, this guy can help us. Dylan Thieneman's still there. Tremont McCoy still there. I know everyone's worried about where he's at health-wise. But if he's as good as he was 2 years ago, that's a slam dunk pick. So I'm interested here at 23.
One of the interesting storylines here, you kind of just alluded to it, Stone, the trenches, right? Football is won in the trenches a lot of times. 11 of the first 22 picks along the offensive or defensive line. Not a lot of picks at the skill positions per se on the offensive side of the ball. Certainly not in the secondary as well. What does that say, if anything, about the current state of the NFL?
I think it just goes to show you that there's not a lot of skill guys in this draft that these GMs and executives believe can really be difference makers day one, right? And I think that's why you're seeing them roll the dice on some of these players in the trenches. And everybody knows that watches football, yeah, you need to have a quarterback. Yeah, you need to have a skill guy and an edge rusher. But if your lines stink, you don't have a chance, right? I don't care. Think about the Chiefs. Obviously, Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, Kelsey get all the credit. The defense even there at the end of their run. But they were good in the trenches. Brady all those years. Did he ever get hit? No. Obviously, he got rid of the football very, very quickly. But the line play was always good in New England as well. So if you want to get to the next level in this league and potentially get some hardware, I understand it's not a sexy pick, and I understand a lot of people don't even know who these guys are that are going off the board. But you got to have a good trench play. That's why you're seeing teams roll the dice at this stage in the first round.
Well, it also levels out to where the draft is and where, like, it's – we've talked about it. Everyone's talked about how the talent level at this draft isn't as good. So where do you default to when the talent level isn't as great? Is you go, okay, well, we go inside, right? Where it's honestly a little harder to see the talent sometimes, right? Like when a guy's flashy making plays out on the perimeter, when a quarterback's making plays, that's easy to see. Sometimes it's harder to see it down there in the trenches and see how it's going to, translate to the NFL level. So it's no shock that when a draft's a little down, you go to the mean. You go back to what you taught, and that is, good, solid football. Can you stop the gaps? Can you create space? And that's what the trenches are.
These wings, by the way, Reid,
are
they're
absolutely top
phenomenal.
dollar.
Obviously, we love being here at Smoke Justis, so we would say they're good anyway. But this is the truth. They are really, really good wings here.
Listen,
really, really
I know
wings.
you're trying to sell the viewers. You don't have to sell me on them because I've tasted them. They are as good as it gets. The fries are good too. You haven't had any of these fries. Stone, you were so eloquent in your review of the chicken wing. I need a review of the fry.
Did you respect that, Reid?
I did.
All right, here,
I respect
take a couple
you.
Here. Oh,
I respect you.
I'm hogging the ranch over here. Do you guys? I wasn't double dipping.
You are a ranch kid, and that's okay. I can tell just by looking at you, you're a ranch kid.
What does that mean?
You know what
ranch
it means.
kid.
You know what it means.
Does it mean I put ranch on everything?
Do you put ranch on everything?
No, I don't. Chicken wings. I mean, I definitely would go with the ketchup as opposed to the ranch for a French fry. Right? I'm not.
I thought you were about to say ketchup for wings.
No.
Yeah.
But like if it's a salad, sometimes it's ranch, but I'll tap into an Italian dressing, obviously, or a Caesar if we're eating a Caesar. So I wouldn't say.
Stone is a foodie. People do not know that about Stone.
I wouldn't say full-on foodie.
I will filibuster while you try this French fry because, like I said, Stone is a foodie. One of the few conversations we have off air is about what we're eating for lunch that day. When I do see
conversations,
he always is like, "What you got there?" Anytime I come in with my lunch pail, he's like, "What you got there?" Because he wants to know. So give us a review on the French fry.
Yeah, they're good. Obviously, they've been sitting out for a second, so they're not fully fresh, but they're a good French fry. Some kind of semblance to like a East Coast style fry, but they're a little bit thinner there as well. It's a good fry. I'm not going to get all up in arms about them not being fully crispy because I can get on board with that type of fry.
I want you to
the important part is
chisel down
fresh cut.
East Coast style. I want you to chisel down the East Coast. They are fresh cut. They're fantastic.
very clearly fresh cut.
Fresh cuts.
Okay.
I think that's the best way to describe it. I don't want to compare it to another, establishment.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay.
Mel Kiper's best available. Dylan Thieneman, number 1. Denzel Boston, the wide receiver from Washington, at number 2. That's a name that I don't think we've really talked about a whole lot. Mel Kiper has him as the number 2 best available player for him. Wide receiver, not a position that we thought there were many talent beyond Mekhi Lemon and Jordan Tyson and the Carnell Tate, of course. But Mel Kiper has him number 2. The Dallas Cowboys pick is in at 23. And it is Malachi Lawrence, the edge from Central Florida.
Okay.
Golden Knights stand up.
Yeah, they're once again just trying to fortify the defense. This is a guy that, obviously played at a smaller school. It's a big-time conference, but doesn't have the SEC Big Ten pedigree. The UCF does it. So we'll see how it translates. He's obviously a bigger guy, and we'll see how it works for Dallas.
We will see how it works indeed. Malachi Lawrence was the ESPN's number 54 overall pick. And I think, look, one of the conversations about this draft all throughout this process is that you've got your top five or 7 players, right, that are quote-unquote blue chips. And then one of the reasons why it was discussed that the Bengals made sense to move down from 10 is that from 10 or 15 all the way down to like 80. These guys are basically very similar in terms of their rankings. And so to see someone go 54 to 23 is very less. Wow. Speak better, Craig. Is less surprising this year than maybe it would be most years, just because that separation of talent isn't necessarily there like we've seen in years past.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing as we get deeper into this draft, this is happening like left and right with these players. It's like, well, did we expect him necessarily to go in the first round? So it's always fascinating when something like this happens, and I think this has happened more this year than in previous years, but we're not really going to have the answers to the test until about 4 years from now, right? Till we look back and say, you know what, that was a really good pick, or you know what in the world were they doing here at this selection point? But I think a lot of it stems from how football is changing in general, right? I mean, with the NIL and the portal and these guys saying that, you know, instead of going to be a second or third round pick, I can just go back to college and make 7 figures. You're getting to this point in the first round, which is still a premium spot to be, and you just kind of got some random guys going off the board. It feels like a lot of teams are just rolling the dice here on some guys and hoping to catch lightning in a bottle.
Did you guys catch that graphic? They just showed downtown Cleveland. And you want to know what the tagline said? Greatness is on the clock. With the Browns logo, which is objectively the funniest thing I've seen all night. Objectively the funniest thing I've seen all night.
Hilarious. But they are, of course, back on the clock. And here it is at pick 24. The Cleveland Browns need to figure out what they're going to do. Look, obviously we haven't seen, outside of Arvell Reese, we haven't seen a linebacker go, Sonny Styles. There's not really one on the board that makes a ton of sense, maybe Anthony Hill, but for the Browns, there's question marks around Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Will he be back? There's injury concerns about what that looks like for him moving forward. Will he be able to play again? We don't know what JOK is going to have in the future. Could the Browns be looking linebacker here as they try to shore up the second level for their defense here at pick number 24? The pick is in. We're just waiting to see what it is.
I mean, I keep saying it. I said it with Pittsburgh, but, you know, you're clearly going to give Shedeur, or maybe it's Gabriel, maybe it's Deshaun Watson, but it's a guy on your roster right now. Somebody is getting a shot to play quarterback, and who are you going to throw the ball to at this point? Obviously, you got the lineman earlier in round 1. I could see them potentially rolling the dice on a Denzel Boston or an Omar Cooper Jr. just because I hear what you're saying at linebacker for them, but I definitely feel like they view their defense as their strong point of their team. Obviously, they have Myles Garrett, but they just have so much work to do offensively. This feels like it's got to be a weapon.
Reid?
No, it's weird that they would go out and add something to the offense when they're not even sure what the future of the offense is. Like, it is, like, that's seems like a weird, like, you got to have a definitive plan when you go into a season. There is no plan. Like, you can say, oh, it's Shedeur Sanders, oh, it's Dylan Gabriel, oh, it's Deshaun Watson. What's the old adage? If you have more than one quarterback, you have zero. That's where the Cleveland Browns are. And you can say, yeah, well, they don't have anyone to pass to. You got to supplement them as much as you can. But, like, if you've got to have a definitive plan here going into this year. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe they do get some offensive help and they go, okay, this is where we're going in this next year. We've got to make this work, or we've got to pivot in the next year. So it just seems like they have one foot out the door already, whatever their offensive plan is.
First-year head coach Todd Monken, the former offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, takes over this program. And let's be honest, was a hire that didn't really excite the city of Cleveland.
He wasn't their first option.
He wasn't their first option, for sure. But it's interesting to think about. You're coming in, you're an offensive mind. Yeah, Cleveland's been known for the defense, but, hey, maybe we can try and get this offense turned around. They trade down from number 6. They end up taking Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle, at pick number 9. Here they are again now at number 24. Where do you go? There's a lot of options, and one of the struggles as a team who maybe has a lot of holes is that ultimately maybe you look at best player available. Mentioned it earlier, someone like Boston who could come in and give that quarterback, whoever Todd Monken decides to go with, could give them an extra target on the outside. May make a lot of sense because right now Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Isaiah Bond, a lot of unknowns there. for the Cleveland Browns. The pick is in. The commissioner is at the podium. The pick for the Cleveland Browns at 24 is KC Concepcion. It is a wide receiver. It is not Boston from Washington. Denzel Boston, not the pick. Omar Cooper Jr., not the pick. Instead, they go KC Concepcion, the wide receiver from Texas A&M, 6 foot, 196 pounds. Stone, what do you think?
Yeah, it's not the receiver that I would anticipate they take, but I like the positional pick for Cleveland to go with a wide receiver. And this is a guy that played some big-time football last year for Texas A&M. Maybe he's a little bit undersized from a stature perspective as far as his height goes. Maybe they don't view him as that guy necessarily that can win one-on-one on the outside, but he played in big-time football games in the SEC. And him and his buddy that played at Texas A&M, they had a really good tandem there at that spot, and they both had a lot of success. And I like this pick for Cleveland.
Okay, guys, here's what I'll say. It's 10:24.
Yeah.
It's 10:24. We've given out the T-shirts. We've given out the homage. We'll go till 10:30 on picks because I know, Craig, you got to get home. Did you drive up from Mason today or Memphis today?
Yesterday.
6.5
hours, and I got to make the drive back first thing tomorrow.
Wait, 6.5? Didn't you say it was 8.5, Reid?
I said 8.
Oh.
Are you living in the suburbs? Are you on the northern side of Memphis? There is no southern side of Memphis.
Eastern Memphis, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's about 8 hours. Come on.
Nowhere near 8.
If you drive slow.
I do drive fast.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
got a
stop.
speed demon over here.
I load up on gas before I hit the road, and boom, I go, and I'm
You're not
on
a
the
stop
road.
every
I'm not
2
stopping.
hours guy.
Not stopping.
I'm gonna stop every 2 hours.
Listen, I'm a go to the bathroom like twice a day kind of guy anyway.
Oh wow.
I don't stop. Okay.
That's me time. I go a lot. That's me time.
So no, 6.5, maybe 7 on a bad day. Depends on traffic.
It's a drive that you've made plenty of times before, though. So
It is.
it's one you are familiar with.
I
I went to and fro Bloomington today.
You did.
As I mentioned, I was scouting D'Angelo.
I love how he's
Ponds.
trying to, pawn this off on me. Oh, Craig's got a long drive. Not Reid. Not the fact that Reid's got to drive tomorrow and go work an event all day.
I wasn't going to one up you, but I got to drive like the same distance. I got to work all day. It is what it is. It is what it is. If you guys are wondering why later in these rounds I'm giving insight the way that I am, it's been a long day. But I was going to say we'll have a hard stop here at 10:30, so we'll see probably one more pick after the Chicago Bears
Bold
pick.
All right, the Bears pick is in at 25, and, of course, we go to a commercial. But, look, if we're going to end this here, then we have to start having the conversation for 41, potentially moving up. My struggle here, Reid, with ending at 10:30, and I respect why we're doing it, and I understand that Smoke Justis, they close at 11. By the way, great place to get some drinks if you're here late night.
Chicken wings, too.
Chicken wings, French fries, all great. My concern, just being completely blunt, the minute we end this stream, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to trade in, and they're going to be picking number 27 from the San Francisco 49ers.
Good thing is we'll all be together. We'll have internet access. We'll have equipment. We can fire right up, and we can go right from the rip.
Bold move, Reid. Bold move.
I'm just saying. Time out, Craig. I know that we just traded for Dexter Lawrence. Do you actually think we're going to trade into this?
Hell no.
Okay. So, yeah, what are you talking about?
But knowing our luck, that's what's going to happen.
We're lucky guys. You looking kidding us? I've seen all of our families that know who's got it better than us.
Here's what I'll say, is that we, Chatterbox Bengals, we like to go live with all the breaking news, of course.
Yeah.
I think the Dexter Lawrence news was the first time we've had 4 people on a stream in a long time.
That's true.
We had the 3 of us plus Casey McAllister joined in to talk about the Dexter Lawrence trade. It's not very often we get all of us together on a stream.
Okay. I defer to you.
Don't defer to me. Defer to.
I was Smoke Justis closed at 11, so I was going to give us adequate time, making sure that everyone can get out.
The last thing I want to do is say, hey, Smoke Justis, hang out for a little while after you close so that we can pick up, I
was going to say, 10:30 after. I was going to say one more pick after the Bears pick.
Yeah, it's tough because I can't tell him to, start picking up, and me and Stone will, carry the show until you're ready to go because we got to tear down. But,
Right.
yeah, all right. Well, we can I don't know. Let's see. Anything on social about the Bengals trading back in or Any rumors there? Well, that's my only concern. And maybe we shut it down and maybe we pack it up and we just hang out and watch the last 5 picks.
I think we're safe. Well, I want to pack up and
go.
Right.
I get it. I get it.
Well, I want to, like I said, I don't want to keep people here past closing. I'm trying to be courteous. We did our.
They're turning on the lights.
Yeah.
We got the sign, Alex.
There it is.
We got it. Thanks. Cool. Alex is on board with shutting down at 10:30.
Said last call.
Signal received. Yeah, okay. Signal received. Got it. Smoke Justis wants us out of here. Got it. Cool. Well, with that being said, then, we got 1 minute left. Final thoughts on how this first round has gone?
I was going to say, what's the most surprising thing to you today? What's the most surprising in the picks that we've covered? I would say I know people rumored Ty Simpson going to the Rams. Obviously, it was something that was talked about.
I think you shaking this table with your bouncing legs pretty surprising.
I get nervous.
I mean, come on, man. The show's over. Don't usually be
What's
nervous.
the Doechii song? Anxiety? Yeah.
Anxiety.
It's the thing that I was most surprised at, and obviously it was something that people had rumored for a while. Obviously, the Rams had told Matthew Stafford, as that's come out since then, that they were taking Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson being taken as early as he was the most surprising thing to me.
I think to me, clearly, it's Carnell Tate at 4. I just think that is wildly aggressive. And I think you brought up the great point, Craig, when you said that they had their sights set on Jeremiah Love and they were all in trying to get Cam Ward a weapon, get him some help, and then Arizona surprised them, and I think they panicked a little bit. It's like, well, we were going to go offense. We told Cam Ward we were going to get him some help. I guess we'll take Carnell Tate, which to me is just a massive, massive mistake.
The Bears pick is in. We'll cover this one, and then we will end the stream, it sounds like. The Bears at pick 25. And there it is, Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Oregon, off the board, one of the potential targets. Joe Goodberry's best player in the entire draft goes at 25 to the Chicago Bears. Stone, your thoughts on Thieneman again once more?
Yeah, it's a great pick. They obviously lost their safeties in free agency. They had to address that position. They do it here at 25. I think Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, and company are probably sitting there going, oh, this is a guy that probably should have went somewhere between 15 and 20, and we get him here at 25. That's got to feel like a steal for them. And Reid Mouse's Chicago Bears are just rolling right down the tracks.
I would just say the city of Chicago keeps winning. They're just on a long winning streak right now. And Dylan Thieneman's another addition. My Chicago Bears.
Oh yeah.
I was a Caleb. Listen, it's no
What did
secret.
I do here?
I have a little affinity for the city of Chicago, and I'm a big Caleb Williams guy. It's a good pick. It's a good pick. You got to acknowledge it. It's a good pick, and they continue to make good moves there in Chicago.
Ryan Poles putting together a competitive franchise in Chicago for the first time in a long time. Dylan Thieneman, the pick at 25. Look, we're gonna wrap it up here from Smoke Justis, of course, but just a quick rundown of the remaining picks. What's left? So you've got the Chicago Bears just selected Thieneman at 25. The Buffalo Bills about to pick at 26. Then the 49ers at 27. The Texans at 28. The Chiefs at 29. The Dolphins at 30. The Patriots at 31. And the reigning champions, the Seattle Seahawks, pick at 32. Of course, the Bengals pick tomorrow at 41 as it stands today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Drop us a like on this video. We certainly appreciate the support of everybody that's been watching along with us all night long. Appreciate all the fans that came and hung out with us tonight in person. We really appreciate that support. And, of course, we appreciate Smoke Justis. We appreciate Alex and the great service that she's provided tonight for us. The wings, the fries, the beers, all add up to a great experience. Until next time, we'll be live. Are we going live tomorrow? We're not going live tomorrow. We're going to have a video as soon as the Bengals pick at 41 with our immediate reaction. Make sure you tune in to Chatterbox Bengals on YouTube for that reaction. We'll have it up as soon as we possibly can. Until next time, for Reid Mouse, Stone Shields, I'm Craig Sandlin. This has been Chatterbox Bengals. We appreciate you all tuning in. We'll see you next time right here on Chatterbox Sports.